On election day, I've got the high in the middle 80s, partly cloudy, dry during the day, the risk of showers holding off till sometime Tuesday night, maybe a thunderstorm as well. Certainly, we need the rain. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
For the lowest prices around on flooring and DIY flooring installation supplies, Budget Floors and More is your new best friend. Luxury vinyl plank, carpet, ceramic tile, floor installation supplies, and more with prices lower than the big box stores. Budget Floors and More, Hunter Lane across from Del Rey Publix.
1819 News.
Alabama Congressman Barry Moore is expressing confidence in Donald Trump winning the presidential race this coming November. Moore was speaking to the Baldwin County Republican Party this week when he revealed that he had a recent conversation with Trump's former White House Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, about this upcoming election. Moore says that Meadows has a very accurate track record on evaluating the pulse of the nation and predicting political races. Meadows told Moore that he's predicting a Trump win in November. However, Moore also said now is not the time for Republicans to slow down or stop working, especially in swing states where vote turnout is critical. Moore was elected to Congress back in 2020 and has yet to work with Donald Trump as president. Moore says he wants to do that in order to help Trump take back the nation. I'll be back with more Alabama stories after this.
I'm Amy Beth Schaefer with Alabama Unfiltered Radio, and when I need the news and I need it fast, I turn to Andrea Tice and the Daily Detail. On my way in, it is the most convenient, best way for me to digest what's going on so that I can use it for our show. She tells you what's going on in Alabama that day first and fast. So listen to the Daily Detail with Andrea Tice. Don't miss out.
The Daily Detail is available wherever podcasts are found.
Birmingham police are opening up a homicide investigation after 2 bodies were found inside a burning vehicle. Firefighters responded to the blaze this past Tuesday morning. The victims have not yet been identified. A trial date has been set for a former police officer in Gurley who is facing manslaughter charges. Christopher Whalen is charged for a 2023 vehicle wreck that killed Matthew Norwood. Whalen was pursuing another car in a police vehicle when he hit Norwood's car going through an intersection. The trial for Whalen has been set for February of 2025. I'm Andrea Tice.
For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
Looking for insurance, or maybe you're just not satisfied with your current carrier? How does quality coverage with local service and competitive rates sound to you? The folks at Stark Agency offer just that. Whether you need insurance for your business, car, home, or life, Stark Agency can help. As an independent insurance agency with over 20 of the top insurance carriers, Stark is sure to find the perfect match for you and your loved ones. Visit their site at starkagency.com or give them a call at 334-263-5535 for a quote today.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's Conversational Radio Show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
What the hell are we doing here?
We are behaving the way a superpower ought to behave.
Well, our behavior has produced some crappy results.
After damning politicians uphill and down dale for many years as rogues, vagabonds, frauds, and scoundrels, I sometimes suspected, like everyone else, I often expect too much of them.
It's all a Fugazi. You know what Fugazi is?
Fugazi. It's fake.
Yeah, Fugazi, Fugazi. It's a wazi, it's a woozy, it's a fairy dust. It doesn't exist. It's never landed. It is no matter. It's not on the elemental chart. It's not real.
Right.
That's how you conduct yourself in a democracy.
Fat broads and horse bait.
Shut up, silly woman.
If you get a cough, please leave it.
I don't mean to be telling tales out of school, but there's a fella in there who'll pay you $10 if you sing into his pan. I'm not here to make a record, you dumb cracker. They broadcast me out on the radio.
Joey Clark.
Welcome into the program here on a lovely Friday out of Montgomery, Alabama. I'm your host, Joey Clark, and there is so much to get to here on the last Friday of the election. Something came up, though, with Eddie Bader last second, and something came up with Craig Munger last second, but thank God Byron Sheehy is here in the studio with me. How you doing today, Byron?
Doing well, Joey.
Yeah, let me turn your mic on. Doing well?
In the words of Jack Campbell, I'm all you got.
Yes, you are. So just a quick rundown of some of the headlines here. Number one, we have this huge, crazy lie coming out in support of Liz Cheney, claiming that Trump wants to execute Liz Cheney. When Trump was making the point of, no, Liz Cheney would never go to war herself. She's happy to send your sons and daughters to war, but she would never actually stand with a rifle having 9 rifles pointed at her. And they're taking that last part and claiming Trump wants to put her in front of a firing squad.
Desperation is a nasty cologne, man.
It really is nuts. We'll get to the clip. It was a sit down with Tucker Carlson that Trump did. And so many folks are calling out Liz Cheney to her face. Miss Piggy herself. I mean, she's always wearing a Halloween costume. Let's be honest about it, folks. Kermit loves her very well. Actually, no, she loves Kermit. Isn't that the way it is? In the which way was it unrequited? Kermit didn't love Miss Piggy?
No, I'm pretty sure she wouldn't give him. I don't know, man. I had a bad childhood. I can't remember all that.
You're also seeing like the transformation in non-political news. It is amazing. Like the October stuff comes down and overnight it's like Christmas time. And I'm like, what happened to Thanksgiving? Like I got a great Thanksgiving planned, 2 nights of fun and fellowship with family and friends. Mostly it'll be centered in Auburn, Alabama. So I'm looking forward to that. And then you have the Iron Bowl right after that. It's a great time of the year. A good way to unwind from election season. But I don't understand why it is. Like, I'd imagine at Target, they already have the Christmas stuff up.
Oh, yeah. They had Christmas stuff up, I believe, last week or the week before.
I guess people get in early with all the Christmas stuff. But I think Thanksgiving should be celebrated first before you head into the Christmas season. Like, 20-something days of Christmas is enough.
Did,
you put up the tree after Thanksgiving.
The unofficial kickoff to Christmas is Mariah Carey on the radio.
Yeah, that's true.
Did you hear that on the way in?
I didn't know. I don't listen to those sorts of stations.
Good for you.
I was listening to the news talk, actually.
93.1.
Mm-hmm. And then I went back to something else I was listening to. J.D. Vance. I think he really is a new generation of politicians. I think you'll see Democrats rising to the occasion in years to come. And the way J.D. Vance is this cycle, his 3-hour, 17-minute sit down with Joe Rogan was just refreshing, fantastic, youthful, energetic, thoughtful, a little salty sometimes, but them swapping stories about raising kids, to getting into the politics of abortion, the politics of the border, what's happening with media. Vance, I'm watching it. I go, wait, I said that today on air. Stop stealing from me. Bruh.
Everybody listens, Joey.
Yeah, he must have been. But it was the point about somebody needs to pay a lot of good money for good investigative reporters, probably through a nonprofit model. He literally made that point on Rogan, but very refreshing. We got clips from that. All these celebrity endorsements are coming out, like J-Lo, fake crying about the Tony Hinchcliffe's joke and supporting Harris, and LeBron James has come out. And what's interesting, at least online, is that everybody keeps bringing up when, say, J-Lo or LeBron endorse Harris. It's like, here's a picture of you with Diddy.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the conspiracy that how many of these celebrities have something on them, or they knew something. Like, how much are they tied up in the whole Diddy scandal? Or even worse, the Epstein scandal?
The crossover there would be very, very interesting.
And I thought that was Tony Hinchcliffe's best joke at Madison Square Garden, that, get all these high-profile endorsements, the Democratic Party's starting to look like a Diddy party. And I think that's absolutely right. October jobs report just released today. It does not look good. Only 120,000 jobs added, starkly lower than expectations. And when you really dig into the last year or two, native-born American citizens are at a net loss of jobs.
Okay, I'm confused. I saw a report earlier this morning that said some jobs number was already revised down to 12,000.
Yeah, that might have been past month.
Okay.
And it might have been 12,000 sounds like a particular sector as well. But 120,000 is really, really slow. Hold on, let me see this right here. Abysmal. This is the Epic Times. Oh, wow. They're claiming, Epic Times is claiming only 12,000 jobs. So
Right.
maybe you're right. I thought I read it as 120,000.
It was 120 that got revised down to 12.
Wow.
I'm going from memory
Wow.
here on what I saw this morning, but
Well, I think your memory is doing better than me. That is insane.
one way or the other, it is no bueno.
Yeah, that's like, oh, we added 12,000 in manufacturing. Okay, yeah, here it is. October jobs report. The estimated was supposed to be 113,000. Actual was only 12. Thank you for correcting me. Holy crap. That's awful.
Does it say if those are full-time, seasonal? Does it have the industry?
You can dig into it. We'll find a report. There are folks out there who could probably break it down better than me, but that's also going on. We also have Ricky Gervais mocking all the celebrity endorsements. And do you know the name Hugh Hewitt?
I want to say somehow I do.
He's a talk radio host. He's been going on and about it a while. Very smart guy, and I've always respected him as a broadcaster. But he's also always been more the establishment media, corporate media guy.
Right.
Like he would be the token Republican on past presidential debates, be like NBC News hosting the debate, but Hugh Hewitt is there to add the conservative voice. That sort of thing.
Gotcha.
And Hugh, I think he's a little more war hawkish. He's more that kind of classic conservative, remember from the Reagan era, very well spoken, very smart.
Probably on the Cheney's Christmas card list.
Right. But so he's been trying to keep that game going, and you can tell Hugh, he's acting in good faith. He's trying to play the corporate press game, and over the last months especially, but years, you're noticing cracks in Hugh Hewitt, where he's like, I'm going to go off, and it finally happened this morning.
Oh.
And that might be what we need to start with, because it's not that deep, but it's a sign of the
Yes.
crack up in media in general. This is Jonathan Capehart, who seriously gets some testosterone therapy, man. Jonathan Capehart here.
He's got a demo he's trying to reach.
I know. But it is that J.D. Vance and Rogan talked about that as well, like this weird connection between if you have higher testosterone, you work out, that you're probably going to be a little more right-wing in your politics. It's interesting. And that if you're more out of shape and low T, you're probably going to be a little more liberal, which is a fascinating dynamic. And I think it's generally true.
Correlation.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there are some low T individuals that like the right and high T individuals that like the left, but generally speaking, on average. But this is Washington Post Live. It's this internet show that Jonathan Capehart puts out there. And Hugh Hewitt was playing the good conservative voice on corporate media. And this occurs. It's all around the vote and, say, Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and how there was some cheating going on. But here's how Capehart frames it and how Hewitt responds.
Does it seem like this week Donald Trump is laying the groundwork for contesting the election by complaining that cheating was taking place in Pennsylvania by suing Bucks County for alleged irregularities? And this is
For those just listening, Capehart did the air quotes, cheating,
on top of his continual assertion that if he loses, it's because of cheating.
Yeah, he's been laying the groundwork for this, just not in the last week. But
I don't know who this ugly woman is, and she is ugly, but she's obviously more in the left-wing camp.
the last umpty-ump months, no election can be
Ruth
fair
Marcus.
unless
Oh, yes, I know that
Donald
name.
Trump's mind, unless Donald
You.
Trump wins it. And I think we are going to see him both rev up his supporters to contest elections outside of courtrooms and go to every courtroom he can in America where it's relevant to make whatever arguments he can, no matter how far-fetched. We saw
Jonathan,
that
I've
work
got to
out
speak
last
up.
time.
See, okay, so what's happening is the general framing that's coming out of the corporate media. Like, Trump wants to execute Liz Cheney, and any claim of cheating is just more predicate of Trump wanting to cheat, right?
I love when you see people just kind of come unraveled in real time.
Yes. And this is Hugh Hewitt coming unraveled in real time. Back it up a little bit. Let's listen in.
We saw
Jonathan,
that
I've
work
got to
out
speak
last
up.
time, but it didn't work out
Ruth
this time.
finish,
It
Hugh.
may not work. That may not happen this time. And now I'll let you go, Hugh.
Well, I've just got to say, we're news people, even though we're at the opinion section.
It's got to be reported. Bucks County was reversed by the court and instructed to open up extra days because they violated the law and told people to go home. So that lawsuit was brought by the Republican National Committee, and it was successful. The Supreme Court ruled that Glenn Youngkin was successful. We are news people, even though we have opinions, and we have to report the whole story if we bring up part of the story. So yes, he's upset about Bucks County, but he was right, and he won in court. That's the story.
Now listen to Capart's response to this, and then the moment happens.
I'll let you keep going, Jonathan.
No, I don't appreciate being lectured about reporting when many times you come here saying lots of things that aren't.
I won't
based
come
in
back,
fact.
Jonathan. I'm
But-
done.
Rips.
I'm done. This is the most unfair election ad I have ever been a part of. You guys are working. That's fine. I'm done.
Rips his earpiece out, walks off.
So, Ruth, you wrote a column this week.
Wow. Good. Good for Hugh Hewitt. Should have done that years ago, Hugh.
It's never a bad time to find religion, man.
No, and there is this tone. Well, I just don't want to be lectured, but Hewitt was right. And this is the thing, that you won't admit basic facts. So no wonder people are like, okay, if the game we're playing is not about straight reporting and basic facts, and especially on something as contentious as the matters of the law around elections, then I guess we're all going to be narrative builders.
Oh.
Nobody needs to tell the truth. It's all about who can lie better. If that the game, is this the game we're playing now?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
The only thing I wish he would have done differently there is when he gave his response, if he would have done the air quotes around news.
That would have been fantastic. So that video in particular is going viral. The execrable Jonathan Capart getting told off by Hugh Hewitt, and Hewitt should have done that again years ago. And he's right that a lot of this news, most of your corporate media, like Vance went over this with Rogan yesterday, like the amount of times they talked about the Tony Hinchcliffe joke at Madison Square Garden, it was hundreds, if not in several dozen. And you're talking NBC, ABC, CBS, and then, of course, CNN, MSNBC. You've got the New York Times and the Washington Post, which it was WAPO Live we just played there, coming out with hit pieces trying to censor the biggest voices in conservative media a week before the election. They just ran... All of a sudden, they both decide to use the work of Media Matters to go... And no wonder people don't trust the news anymore. And Jeff Bezos can kid himself that, we just need more conservative voices on our editorial page. No, how about you take a stranglehold of the news desk, Mr. Bezos? Because it's your straight news reporters that pretend like, we're just objectively reporting the facts, when it's all a hit job, timed in a particular way with the same exact sourcing, and people are getting wise to this.
These people love this time of year. They get phone calls that they don't normally get, like, hey, I need you to do me a favor. I'll remember this.
Oh, yeah. Could you push this for our candidate coming on?
Does that ever happen?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And I'm happy to have people on, but if you're directing me on how I must do my show, go jump at a lake.
That's a different program.
And I often would say something much stronger than go jump at a lake. Go kick rocks. Step off. I'm getting closer to what I might actually say. Now, let's zoom out here because we can get into, and Eddie, by the way, will be here in about half an hour. So look forward to seeing Mr. Bader, as some call him, a master of real estate, joining the show. But we can get into the latest polling. You were talking to me, Byron, off air about Wisconsin, how some establishment Republicans or Republicans on the wrong side of Trump are now essentially doing voter demoralization ads to try to get people to stay home and not vote for Trump.
No, it's not even trying to get them to stay home. They're trying to let moderate Republicans know that the water over here is fine. You can come on in and vote for Kamala.
Okay.
And those two individuals, I was told, were former VP Mike Pence and former Rep Mike Gallagher.
There you go. And you got to wonder how much of that is going on around the nation. And you've got Nate Silver. He went on a F-bomb laced rant on one recent podcast. Of course, Nate Silver, great predictor. One of the, he's been wrong about stuff, but I think his his use of statistics is masterful. In fact, he's so good at playing the statistics game that in not the politics world, like he is essentially banned from DraftKings. He's tried to do fantasy sports, and he's so good at picking. They're like, you can't bet. We're going to limit your bets to $20. You can't bet hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, but didn't Nate also like kind of disclose his model? And he's like, I don't do any polling. What I do is I find
you do statistical analysis.
I
yes.
take the credible pollsters and kind of average theirs together, and I feel that that's the truest number.
Right. But what he goes on a rant about is he calls it poll herding.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, it sounds like you know what that is. And he's like, y'all are all like effing weenies, like cowards. None of you are actually producing real numbers.
There's safety in numbers, right? So long as you're within the range, you don't seem suspect.
Right.
It's whenever an outlier occurs that someone has to be very brave and confident in their methodology and the results to sort of plant that flag.
Well, and his point is like, you might be in the same range, but the giveaway that it's true herding is that if you're all supposedly sampling, say, the same 800 different people, you're sampling 800 people, 1,000 people, but it's supposed to be a random sample, and you're all coming back with the same exact +1 in a particular state, it sounds like y'all are just pulling from the same sample pool.
Well, you also don't know how many times a pollster may run a poll in order to achieve a certain result.
That too. So Silver, he gives Trump a 55% probability, 55% to 45% probability of winning. He's calling it pretty tight and pretty close. That said, let's assume, for the sake of argument, that Donald Trump wins. What happens then in the months following?
I think that all this stuff about, Trump's trying this legal challenge and he's contesting here and there, they're setting the table so that they can do that.
Exactly right.
And saying, okay, well, he was already doing it. So now, we're just taking the playbook that he's used.
So I want to play a little bit of something I listened to last week. This is Mike Benz, who is just fantastic. If you are not aware of Mike Benz, B-E-N-Z, he is so good on this censorship industrial complex, what he calls the blob of non-governmental organizations, of the State Department, intelligence community, DOD, big tech, a lot of this blob, as he said, this confluence of interest. He's really good on it. He was on Patrick Bet David show, and Bet David, to his credit, asked Benz, so if one of these people came to you, how would you tell them to stop Trump? What would be because Benz used to work in the State Department, he kind of saw all this stuff being built right before his eyes. And then he went out, got on the outside and started calling it out. He didn't like it when it was going on, but it really kicked into high gear. And so he's been calling out since. So let's listen into a little bit of this.
Right off the bat, I want to go into this one here. So let's just say you get a phone call from the establishment left and establishment right elites. They call you. Mike, we need your help. We have 13 days left of election in the States. November 5th is around the corner. We've tried defamation of character, didn't work. We've tried using the DOJ, he didn't drop out. We've tried assassination attempt, he looked right, and we missed him. We've tried humiliating him in front of his family, and they're still united. We've tried humiliating him in front of his wife is still right next to him. We've tried pinning his voters against him, and they're even more loyal to him. We've tried impeaching him, it got his people more loyal to him. We've tried arresting this guy and doing a mugshot thinking that was it because he'd be the first one. He used it against us, and his popularity went higher. We try to deplete his savings with all the lawsuits that we put together. He's still there. We've tried every single thing that we've done, okay? We used the pandemic as a way to shut down everything in a creative way. Whatever. Let's just say they didn't, what happened in 2020, that worked. However, we can't use that now. We need you to think like Dr. Evil. If you're able to figure out a solution for us, again, being a devil's advocate here, you have a get out of jail card for the rest of your life. Okay, let's just say they're going to offer that to you. Obviously, for you, it wouldn't work anyways. I'm just saying, play that part. To think how the opponent or the enemy would, use a way to prevent him from winning the next 13 days. What creative tools is left that they haven't used yet?
Oh, well, there's so many. I mean, some of them are on the censorship side, but I would say at this point, with Elon firmly at the helm of X, and with Zuckerberg actually loosening a lot of the censorship techniques, and actually firing a lot of the established back channel connections that the blob, this sort of DOD, IC, State Department, and financial stakeholder complex that's against Trump is driving at, with those options being a lot less than they were 4 years ago, even though they're trying now through these international regulations like this EU censorship law, and they're planning to do this in 140 countries now. It's insane, but sort of a side story. I actually think the most direct threat, the thing that they are planning to do, is easiest to understand through the lens of an organization called the Transition Integrity Project, which was set up by this individual who was a former high-ranking Pentagon official with a CIA blue badge, who organized exactly what you talked about. The former head of the DNC, Donna Brazile. Yeah, that's the one. And if you run a search on my X handle for TIP, I can walk you through the actual screenshots showing this absolutely diabolical plan that they had for 2020, and that they've already war gamed for 2024. But if you put in BLM, it'll pull up some of these screenshots. Or maybe if you refresh or something, sometimes it takes a minute to. Yeah, so let's see. If you scroll down,
they're doing it live, folks.
See, okay, so that's one of the screenshots right here, where so in this simulation they had Donna Brazile, the former head of the DNC, part of your scenario, and Michael Steele, the Never Trump former head of the GOP, who are both a part of this war game. And you'll see who personally role-played Joe Biden in this 2020 election coup simulator war game was none other than John Podesta, the Hillary Clinton campaign manager, who was then promoted to run the largest slush fund in the entire federal government of the Biden White House, in charge of $375 billion in climate funds, personally role-playing Joe Biden. So if you keep scrolling, actually, I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. And this is, I think, going to be shocking to a lot of people if you haven't seen this before. But scroll down. Okay, so that's the thread right there. So if you, and there's a whole thread around this. But if you just click that image, I'll just show you what this is. So here's what happened in June 2020, just about a week after the George Floyd protests broke out in Minneapolis. A gaggle of high-ranking military, CIA, State Department, and political insiders all met in Washington in order to war game a scenario in which Trump lost the election but clung to power. So they contemplated the need for a way to overthrow his government, to basically do a counter coup in case he did a coup, if he clung to power, if he used the military, if he just didn't respect the election results. And they ran 4 simulations around this. One of these was called a clear Biden win. The second one was too close to tell, but the third one was called clear Trump win. And they war gamed how to get Trump out of office, even if he legitimately won the Electoral College. And make no mistake, this entire thing was 100% never Trump. The appendix at the back of it was called How to Stop Trumpism After Trump, meaning even after they defeated Trump, how do you eliminate Trumpism from the GOP? Now, here's how diabolical this plan was in 2020. So 13 times in the 17-page document, they call for a need to take to the streets, to control perceptions of public legitimacy, to censor the internet so that perceptions of a Joe Biden illegitimate presidency would be minimized. At the time, they were already contemplating that the only way Joe Biden could win would be through what they called the red mirage blue shift, that Trump would win on election night, but it would be a red mirage because it would shift blue as mail-in ballots were counted and states would flip.
That's what happened.
And they knew that this was going to cause havoc in the minds of Americans, because nothing like this had ever happened, where you have multiple states flipping overnight, people popping champagne the night before and then waking up and finding actually their opponent is present. So they wanted to pre-censor public conceptions that Joe Biden's victory would be illegitimate. And so what they did is they had this plan to wrangle the legacy media, the broadcast media, to the social media companies, and that this network would descend on all the social media companies to get every single one of them to pass a new terms of service violation called delegitimization, which meant if you posted on Twitter or Facebook or YouTube or Reddit or Twitch, anywhere on one of the major 15 platforms that they targeted, that you didn't believe that mail-in ballots were safe and reliable, you had a problem with early voting drop boxes, you had a problem with electronic voting machines or voter tabulation issues, that would be a terms of service violation, and either your post would get flagged, you get deboosted in the algorithm, your account could get suspended. Remove, reduce, inform is what they call this. Basically, ban, deboost, and then fact-checking interstitials that limit the virality.
Remove, reduce. What was the last one?
Remove, reduce, inform.
Inform.
That's right. Those are basically the levels of how hard the ban hammer you get hit with. And what they did is they got a direct partnership. This is one of the groups that was operating sort of parallel to TIP, was a group called EIP, the Election Integrity Partnership. They had a formal partnership with the Department of Homeland Security, and they targeted tens of millions of tweets. They said, 2.5 million or something for Stop the Steal. They bragged on tape about setting up the tech platforms to be able to take stuff down quickly. They did
who
an
bragged on
autopsy.
tape? When you say they, who are
the
they?
Election Integrity Partnership? It was a consortium of 4 different outside entities, because
what was
DHS,
the biggest name? Who was the biggest name in that
recording?
recording?
The technical lead was the Stanford Internet Observatory, who just got its plug pulled by Stanford after all these scandals. But the most significant was the Atlantic Council of these 4. The Atlantic Council has 7 CIA directors currently serving on its board of directors. Current former number 1 heads of the CIA, 7 of them, all on the board of this one. It's NATO's think tank is how it effectively bills itself.
Now, I'm going to pause there because there's a lot of detail to this. But I played it at length because he was asked straight up. Mike Benz was asked straight up, what would you do if you were having to do this in 2024? I love this answer on background, though. I love this background information, that it's not hypothetical. They literally already war-gamed a lot of this in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the part he didn't get to yet is like, and Bet David kind of sniffs this out. He goes, oh, yeah, but Elon holds Twitter. So you can't really push this in the same way. You can still push it in a somewhat powerful and effective way, but not in the same way that Elon now controls Twitter and it's this Wild West information, and you can immediately start debunking in real time all these things they were going to push out. So without having to use Ben's own words, he cites, well, it'll probably go to the Jamie Raskin plan. And we've mentioned that on this show a few times. I believe Jamie Raskin said this in February of this year, February 2024. So what is the Raskin plan? If all these censorship apparatus, if all the information warfare doesn't work, if in 2020 they did have that sort of red mirage blue shift, that's literally what happened. People went to bed thinking Trump had won. They woke up and saw, wait, he's not. And it was because of all the mail-in ballots. You look at early voting, you look at mail-in ballots this time, that's not going to happen. So all that stuff's not going to happen. I still think it's a brilliant answer because it's documenting how this game is played. People like to think naively, well, one man, one vote, we count the votes, and so-and-so wins. And there are so many decisions made before you ever get to make a decision as a voter, and there are so many decisions after you make your decision as a voter.
What makes you think that none of that's going to happen in some of these blue wall states with blue legislators and blue sheriffs in some key counties?
No, that's a good point. It's a fantastic point. Just saying it's not as easy as it was in 2020. Right. So what would be the backup if that sort of thing doesn't work? And if it is that sort of Trump win, like Trump legitimate win, well, it goes to the Jamie Raskin strategy. And this is why the congressional House races right now are so crucial. If Democrats have the House, well, here's what Raskin suggested earlier this year.
It's going to be up to us on January 6, 2025, to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified. And then we need bodyguards for everybody in civil war conditions, all because it's going to be up to us on January 6, 2025, to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified. And then we need bodyguards for everybody in civil war conditions.
I'll let it play twice. The idea is Trump is an insurrectionist. Based on the 14th Amendment, we're not going to certify your election.
You know
sir.
what really upsets me about this cat right now? All that plays out in whatever bizarre universe he's living in. He needs bodyguards. They need bodyguards. Like, I'm pretty sure Trump supporters wouldn't need bodyguards. You know, like, to me, this just screams of elitism to the nth degree.
Well, and it screams of that disdain that is apparent right now. And folks want you to think the disdain is, and some people still fall into this trap, is Republicans, everyday voters, everyday people. They're not part of the party. They're not part of the legal schemes behind the scenes. They're not part of all these big institutions. They're just everyday people who happen to vote Republican.
Just
or
trash.
everyday people who, just trash, yeah.
Just trash.
Or everyday people who happen to vote Democrat. What a lot of the elite media and elite people want you to believe is that everyday Republicans hate everyday Democrats. And there's some folks, everyday people on the right and left, who fall into that trap. It is a trap. The real disdain in this country is between everyday people and your elite institutions. That's where the real disdain, the real distrust is. It is where Joe Scarborough yesterday, what I was yelling about, saying, well, but he called the press scum. It's like, yes, the press have disdain for everyday people. They're happy to see them called garbage or deplorable or bitter clingers. You can go back and back. You've been calling these folks Nazis for decades. And the hatred, the contempt for the press from everyday people is very real as well.
Yeah, but
that's a very real thing.
But to me, the practical problem is that those people who are that upset can't direct that outrage directly to the people who deserve it.
Yeah.
So it's cast on their neighbors. you
Right.
know,
And it
just-
shouldn't be.
Right. But it's hard to separate that
it is hard.
anger and need to kind of vent or to get that out and direct it appropriately. So since their neighbor has a Trump sign, now their neighbor's just, flat out racist or going to be marching in Madison Square Garden here not too long.
Yeah, and that's, I think, the game that's being played quietly behind the scenes. And there's a lot more to it, of course, but we got to hit a break. This part of the program brought to you by Montgomery Men's Health, and they're at Montgomery Men's Health. They're ready to help you fellas out if, you have issues that are pointing towards low testosterone. And so what are the symptoms? Especially if all these are happening together. You have no motivation. You have no energy, no drive, including a decrease in your sex drive. You're always tired, physically and mentally. Feel like you're walking through your life in a fog, like you're trudging through mud. Knowing whether or not you have low testosterone is huge in combating some of these issues. And the providers there at Montgomery Men's Health will conduct a testosterone-focused lab workup plus a consultation for only $99. And they do have low T treatments there that can truly change lives. If that is indeed your problem, they can help you out. And after these treatments, men can experience higher energy, better gains in the gym.
Oh, brother.
Better mental clarity, improved sleep patterns, a faster metabolism, and you usually even notice an increased libido. And you can actually book the same day that you call, gentlemen. So call them up today at 440-3663. That's 440-3663. Or go to MontgomeryMen'sHealth.com to book your appointment today.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings 6 till 9 and afternoons 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Make 2024 the year you break away from the chain stores and join us here at Adams Drugs. We value your business and want to provide you the best customer service at the lowest possible price. We've been serving up excellent customer service here in the River region for over 62 years.
I made the swap to Adams Drugs and I couldn't be happier. Having a job and then getting 3 kids to all of their activities keeps me busy. I don't have an hour to waste waiting on a prescription. At Adams, they know me and my family. I get in and out in minutes, and when I can't get by Adams, they'll bring the prescription right to my door.
What are you waiting for? Come in to Adams Drugs and let us earn your business. Our friendly and personal staff will talk with you and answer any questions you may have about your prescriptions. Your satisfaction is our #1 goal. Visit us at adamsdrugs.net for the location nearest to you. Adams Drugs is your local independent Health Mart pharmacy. Health Mart, taking the time to listen and care.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-488-2594. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-488-2594. That's 800-488-2594. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Must qualify for enrollment. Results may vary.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com.
Jessica Pig here with Pig Enterprises. Blue Water Broadcasting has been a major part of our continued growth, connecting us with the right customer base at the right time, helping us to get you behind the wheel of quality pre-owned vehicles for the past 20 years. If you're looking to maximize your advertising potential, Pig Enterprises believes you'll get a squeal of a deal from Blue Water Broadcasting.
Did you know that radio is the #1 reach platform in all of media? It's true. Call us to find out how to put radio's #1 reach to work for your business. Blue Water Broadcasting. Local folks helping local business.
Rich Thomas Weather, a service of Wiley Sanders Truck Lines, where dump truck drivers are in demand. Wiley Sanders is on the grow. We need dump truck drivers now. Call 855-77-9785.
Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to November. It's a new month, but it's the same story. Still dry and warm. Today, very warm with a high temperature up to about 86. In fact, I've got us around 86 on Saturday, mid-80s again Sunday, and even Monday with the sun and cloud mix and 60s at night. Looking ahead, even on Election Day, I've got the high in the middle 80s, partly cloudy, dry during the day, the risk of showers holding off till sometime Tuesday night, maybe a thunderstorm as well. Certainly, we need the rain. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
We're redesigning financial freedom at CB&S Bank. Make purchases at participating stores and restaurants using your CB&S Bank debit card through your mobile devices with Mobile Wallet. Charges and fees may apply for your cellular service provider. Contact your service provider for more information. Member FDIC.
When news happens, you'll hear about it first. The River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM WACB.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. This part of the program brought to you by River Region Contracting. And there at River Region Contracting, Todd Clark and the team are ready to help you with that roof of yours. Whether it's an asphalt or metal roof, it should be inspected on a regular basis. A lot of manufacturers say every 3 to 5 years, but why not do it on an annual basis, given the elements and all the storms that roll through here in this part of the world? And they can come on out at River Region Contracting, and here's why you should do it every year. That inspection's always free. You're not on the hook. And also those estimates, if they do find an issue, they'll write up an estimate for free. And they're insurance specialists. So if they do find a problem with your roof that your insurance company might pay for, they can walk you through that claims process, make it a swift and easy experience. So check out River Region Contracting today. There's a reason folks are calling them the premier roofing contractor in the area. That number, 356-8635. That's 356-8635. And be sure to tell them that, well, you heard about him here on News and Views, that Joey fella on the radio sent you. Now, I want to jump back in to, again, this conversation between Patrick Bet-David and Mike Benz. This gets into the Jamie Raskin part of the conversation, because Bet-David's like, okay, that's great, interesting history, but things seem to have changed. The election seems to be jumping. The cat's jumping a different way. So what's the other options they have? Take it away, Mr. Benz.
Jamie Raskin in Congress has said, let people vote for Trump if they want. We're not going to certify his election anyway. So he may be elected, but we're not going to let him be inaugurated.
When did he say that?
This is like 2 months ago. You can pull up the Jamie
Is this
Raskin.
The one?
I think that's probably the one.
Play it, Rob.
Again, it's necessary, but it's not sufficient because what can be put into the Constitution can slip away from you very quickly. And the greatest example going on right now before our very eyes is Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which they're just disappearing with a magic wand, as if it doesn't exist, even though it could not be clearer what it's stating. And so, they want to kick it to Congress. So it's going to be up to us on January 6, 2025 to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified. And then we need bodyguards for everybody in Civil War conditions, all because the 9 justices, not all of them, but these justices who have not many cases to look at every year, not that much work to do, a huge staff, great protection, simply do not want to do their job and interpret what the great 14th Amendment means. And I'm glad that Sherilyn's creating her new center so we can bring that.
So if you go to my X handle and you type in provoke breakdown, you're going to see that he referenced basically they're going to provoke a breakdown on January 6th. Now, this is very interesting. So here you go. I think this is one. Right. Clear Trump win. This is the scenario. Now, if you go to the next screenshot, you'll see what it says there in yellow highlights with the red highlight. Again, this was in June 2020, being organized by military intelligence, State Department, and high-level political operatives from both sides of the aisle. Again, both the former heads of the both major political parties who were both anti-Trump. And one of the most consequential moves in their war game for how to make sure Biden was inaugurated, even if Trump was elected, was that Team Biden role played by no less than John Podesta, who would then occupy this very senior slot in the Biden administration, White House. One of the most consequential moves was that Team Biden on January 6th provoked a breakdown in the joint session of Congress by getting the House of Representatives to agree to award the presidency to Biden based on the alternative pro-Biden submissions sent by pro-Biden governors. This is what they're planning to do. They're going to make the argument that Donald Trump is disqualified under the 14th Amendment because of January 6th, and then they will do the exact same.
How likely is it they're going to do that?
I think it depends on how robust the consensus building has been for this and how much infighting there is in the Democrat camp. I think that the ire between the Biden and Harris camp has disunified some of these networks that have sort of reluctantly given in to some of the recent Trump momentum. But it's hard to know right now because a lot of these tools would not be played while Harris is still the occupants of the White House. They would not, for example, deploy street mobilization protests to burn federal buildings or police precincts or put the country in crisis while the person they want to win is occupying the White House. So it's unclear how robust the infrastructure is underneath the surface because they're not going to launch the surface attack until Trump wins an electoral college victory. But this is absolutely what they're planning. And by the way, they tried this in 2016. In 2016, they got about 13 or 16 alternate electors to not certify Trump's election then. But that was 8 years ago. It's unclear how much more reach they've gotten into that, but that is what this legal network is planning, whether they can pull it off or whether it costs them too much legitimacy.
It's not going to work.
But it's just a taste. When you start to wonder what could happen, what could be the next move, it's stuff like this. And the irony of, because of what Trump did on January 6th, the next January 6th after a presidential election, we need to do what Trump and team are accused of doing on January 6th, 2021 with the alternative electors and all these other things.
And
it's nuts.
This plan predated, any of that.
Any of that happening.
So both sides are, potentially playing from the same playbook.
Yes. And that's what's so nuts. Again, I'm playing all this just to underline the point. Grow up, Peter Pan. Before you get to decide at the ballot box, there are a lot of decisions made by people more powerful than anybody hardly within earshot of us, let alone us in this room. And after you make your choice at the ballot box, there are a lot of decisions made. That this game has become a high-stakes, legal / I would say extra legal in some ways, game between elites. And let's just hope the nation survives. I think it will. Actually, I think Trump the way you could put something like this to bed is if Trump has a dominant victory. But that depends on, well, who actually shows up on election day. We'll see. 272-9228 if you want to get in on the conversation. This part of the program brought to you by All Pro Heating, Air, and Electrical. And they're at All Pro. They're ready to help you out with, say, just a look over, check up on that HVAC system of yours. It's that time of year where, you know, things, you're running the heater in the morning and you're trying to fight back the cold and the coolness coming, and then you're running the AC in the middle of the day. It's working overtime. And especially if that HVAC system's making a lot of noise, it sounds like it's struggling. It probably is. So get the pros there at All Pro Heating, Air, and Electrical to come out and look it over. And of course, they can also do a look over of your electrical system. And they specialize in installing Generac generators. So when it comes to a Generac generator, if you want the power to stay on when the storms roll through, and that we definitely have some gnarly storms, tornadoes, and the like that roll through this area, especially if you live, say, in the county, and it takes a little while for the power to get back on. Install a Generac generator in your home. It flips on automatically. You keep the power on, especially if you're relying on medical devices or work. And here's the beautiful thing. Don't just treat it as a cost. Like, oh, this is going to cost me a bunch of money. Hey, I don't know if I want to finance this. Treat it like an investment because it, for certain, ups the value of your home. Check them out today. That's All Pro Heating, Air, and Electrical. You can always go to allproheatingair.com or give them a call at 301-1961. That's 301-1961. And be sure to tell them that Joey, that fellow on the radio, sent you.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
I'm Wes Allen, Secretary of State. In Alabama, election integrity is a top priority. We must ensure fair, secure, and transparent elections. To vote in Alabama, state law requires voters to present a valid form of photo identification. For a complete list of acceptable identification, or to learn more about acquiring a free photo voter ID, visit alabamavotes.gov.
This message is presented by Alabama Secretary of State Wes Allen.
Hi there, I'm Kim Williams with Alabama Home Mortgage. For years, I've been asking you to call me at Alabama Home Mortgage because there is a difference in mortgage companies. Did you know the current national average turn time to close on a mortgage is 48 business days? But not at Alabama Home Mortgage. At Alabama Home Mortgage, our average close time is 16 business days. That's a month faster than the rest. How do we do it? With over 60 years of combined experience in the industry. Our team knows mortgages. Our years of experience yield a better experience for our customers. Folks, time is money. Whether you're looking to buy or refi, don't waste time with another mortgage company, bank, or credit union. We close on time, every time. Give Alabama Home Mortgage a call at 567-4223. That's 567-4223. Or visit us online at myalabamahomemortgage.com to complete an application on your time. Our fast turn time is just one difference that sets us apart from the rest. It's not just a slogan. Call Alabama Home Mortgage because there is a difference in mortgage companies. NMLS 1586368, Equal Housing Lender.
What's your biggest investment? More than likely, it's your home. So treat it that way when you hire a painting contractor. With PBS Painting, there are no gimmicks, no $99 specials. Just quality painting and someone who treats your home with the same respect that you do. At PBS Painting, we have been painting for years and look forward to many more years to come. With PBS Painting, the job gets prepped properly, whether it's cleaning, scraping, or priming. We always use quality products, which is a must for a quality paint job. So if you're looking for a painter that doesn't need upfront money and is on the job at all times, then please give me a call. Scott Bowers and PBS Painting, 294-5122. That's PBS Painting, 294-5122. Look at some of our work on Facebook at PBS Painting Montgomery.
Want to take the price of new flooring and tear it in half? You can during Prattville Carpet's biggest sale of the year, going on right now. Save 50% on select luxury vinyl plank and select carpets in stock. Stop into the store to register to win a brand new quartz countertop up to 75 feet until November 20th. No purchase necessary.
Hi, I'm Ray Bowles from Prattville Carpet. If you're looking for waterproof carpet, hardwood, laminate, vinyl plank, or ceramic tile, call us today for your free measurement.
Shop now and save big at PrattvilleCarpet.com.
Prattville Carpet, we're more than just carpet.
the premier place the river region turns to for news, weather, traffic, and opinion. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Oh, look, Eddie Bader's here. How you doing, Eddie?
Apparently I'm white as a ghost. Look at that.
You are kind of a ghost.
I gotta get some sun, man.
I think it's how you're sitting under the light.
I don't know. I hope that's it. Because when I go to Jamaica here in about a month, I don't want to burn up the first day and spend the rest of the week in the hotel.
Yeah, but how you doing?
Eh.
Come to the dark side? What is that? Like you want me to be a Sith Lord or something?
Never mind. It's the dark side of Trump.
Oh, like Dark MAGA?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have.
I just assumed it was hunting alligators or something then.
Sorry.
Some redneck thing like that. Hey, let's go to the phones and talk to Kelly. Hey, Kelly.
Hey, Joey, how are you?
Good. How you doing?
I'm okay. Listen, I think Jamie Raskin is basing his case on insurrection, but Donald Trump was never charged with or convicted of insurrection.
Correct.
And Jamie Raskin better be careful because he's guilty of deleting exculpatory evidence on the January 6th committee, so he better be careful what tree he's barking up.
Amen, sister.
Yeah.
Amen. No, and you're right. The best they could do was, well, we can't get him on insurrection. How about conspiracy to commit insurrection? We'll get him on that. And even that he's not been actually convicted of. So I think you make a good point.
Yeah, but, yeah, I don't put it past any of them up there to try something. And if they do, they're going to have a civil war in their hands.
But it seems like that's kind of the play, though, is like create chaos and use chaos as a ladder to getting power again. So,
is that why the Department of Defense has passed that bill now to have the military shoot Americans if necessary?
I've seen a lot of folks talk about that. It's a new directive that came out.
Yeah.
It's all unnerving. And especially you also see the chipping away at like free speech rights, the censorship complex developing. It's pretty crazy.
Why doesn't Trump just come out and say on day one, we're rescinding that? Like
That's a good point.
through executive
Yeah,
order.
that would be a good...
He should say it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he should.
Well, we know he listens to the show, so maybe he will tomorrow.
But
good point, Byron.
we just need to, Monday at 6 p.m., Christians are praying for this country. Monday at 6 p.m.
Amen, Kelly. That's how we prevent a lot of this. Everybody got to show up. Thank you.
All right. Y'all have a good day.
You too, Kelly.
272-9228. Got a bunch of comments rolling in. Dennis asked, my gay nephew thinks a vote for Trump will erase all his rights. Will Trump erase their rights? I guess mean gay rights. No.
No. He didn't do that first time.
Now, if you're just thinking of like gay rights, like gay marriage, no. But if you're thinking of like rights everybody have, no matter say your race, creed, sexuality, like your First Amendment rights.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. If Trump loses, you're going to see the continual chipping away of that in a big way.
Yeah.
I'd like to know if his nephew is under 18, because might be some surgeries people cannot have that are currently able to get them unless they're over a certain age. Other than that.
Yeah. No, and I think Trump's winning a lot of groups you wouldn't expect based on the old identity politics.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big hope going into this, but we'll see.
Agreed.
Second hour coming up.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. Israeli airstrikes have killed at least 24 people in northeastern Lebanon. It was the latest deadly toll in the area since the conflict between Israel and the Lebanese terrorist group Hezbollah escalated last month. Israel's military has said its operation in Lebanon is targeting Hezbollah's military infrastructure. North Korea boasting that its new intercontinental ballistic missile is the world's strongest, a claim seen as pure propaganda. Experts say this ICBM and its launch vehicle are oversized. That would make them harder to move and easier for enemies to see. And the death toll from massive flooding in eastern Spain is now at 205 and is expected to rise. The Dow up
438 points, the NASDAQ adding 223. This is SRN News.
Hey folks, Donald Trump Jr. here. Let me ask you this. Does inflation feel worse than we're being told in the news? That's because the official inflation rate doesn't tell the whole story. Since January of 2021, the cost of living has increased by 17.9%. You can't get that money back. But what you can do is stop your losses today. How? By diversifying your savings into a gold IRA from my friends at the Birch Gold Group. When you're done, your money will be parked in a tangible asset with proven history. To see how it works, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word PREPARE to 989898. Birch Gold is the only gold company I trust. They provide an easy process to roll over your 401k or IRA into gold without losing your tax advantage status. So text PREPARE to 989898. That's PREPARE to the number 989898 to get your free info kit on gold IRAs from Birch Gold.
Rich Thomas Weather, a service of Riverside Chevrolet Wetumpka. If it's Chevy, it's Riverside. Best price, best selection. Check them out on the web at riversideusa.net.
Rich Thomas Weather. Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to November. It's a new month, but it's the same story. Still dry and warm. Today, very warm with a high temperature up to about 86. In fact, I've got us around 86 on Saturday, mid-80s again Sunday, and even Monday with the sun and cloud mix and 60s at night. Looking ahead, even on Election Day, I've got the high in the middle 80s, partly cloudy, dry during the day, the risk of showers holding off till sometime Tuesday night, maybe a thunderstorm as well. Certainly, we need the rain. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
WebBobo with Capital Tractor. Get 0% financing up to 48 months with approved credit. Now on select Kubota track loaders and excavators. Get a Kubota now through December 31st, 2024. See Capital Tractor Montgomery and Brundage or KubotaUSA.com for details.
From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, here's today's top stories. The Montgomery Chamber of Commerce held a State of Schools meeting Thursday. The event focused on moving the school system forward following the resignation of MPS Superintendent Dr. Melvin Brown. Jamie Wilson has been named as interim superintendent while the search for Dr. Brown's replacement is conducted. Over $1 billion and thousands of valuable items are stored in Alabama's unclaimed property vault, waiting to be claimed by their rightful owner. The list of unclaimed items is updated regularly, and it takes less than 5 minutes to check. Simply go to treasury.alabama.gov and click on unclaimed property. The state of Alabama is ranked number 8 in a recent report by Area Development of top states for doing business. The evaluation was based on tax policies, workforce development, regulatory environments, and infrastructure. Alabama was favorably noted for property tax environment and cost of doing business as well. From the Blue Water Broadcasting News Center, I'm Sky Mosley.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender.
Hi, this is Bo Goodson from the Goodson Group with your updated market report. So far this year through MLS, there have been over 4,000 closings in the river region. Sellers have been getting on the average of over 97% of the listed price. In this ever-changing real estate market, I've seen more price reductions on listings over the last 3 months than I've seen in years. It's time to act for a buyer. So we have a greater supply of homes for people to see before they buy. We have an average price of $261,000 in our area. Local mortgage companies have come up with really attractive plans for first-home homebuyers, such as down payment assistance, lender credits to help on the closing costs, and buy-down plans to buy down the starting rate for borrowers. Investing in yourself and your community is life-changing for first-home homebuyers. You need a buyer agent to represent your interest and give you great advice. For all this information, call Bo Goodson at the Goodson Group at 221-2883 or 551-0225.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's news and views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
Shut up, silly woman.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. I'm Joey. That's Eddie. Byron Sheehy are also in the studio, and we look up and it's Senator Britt alive on Fox News, and I guess she's being asked about Mark Cuban saying, "I never see Trump around strong, intelligent women."
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, every Republican woman is now coming out and giving their spiel, and I guess Senator Britt's jumping in on that.
These guys are they are doing more to energize the Republican base than anything we're doing.
Oh yeah, Mark Cuban especially is there's something on. They got something on that guy.
Well,
I don't know what it is.
They're just so angry that the ship is going down that they're just cussing everybody out on the way down.
I think he's jealous of Elon.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think it's as
He
simple
should be.
as
He's got Elon's the things that Mark wanted to do. Elon knows how to do. Mark just has money. Elon has money and the skill to make it happen.
And speaking of Republican women, Caroline Dobson will be here in the studio at 2.
Nice.
Kind of closing arguments before Election Day in the brand new District 2. We'll get to that. Would you say she looked captivating, Eddie?
Today, very, very much
captivating.
So.
Yes, indeed. So here's the big lie that's happening today. It has all to do with Trump. What are the headlines they're showing? Rolling Stone, Trump fantasizes about putting Liz Cheney in front of a firing squad. ABC News, Trump uses violent rhetoric to attack Warhawk, in quotes, Warhawk Liz Cheney. Like that's the again and again. Reuters, Trump suggests Liz Cheney should face firing squad for her foreign policy. You are such miserable liars. And by the way, the number one thing that unites the corporate press is they are all shills for the war state.
100%.
The warfare state. All of them, to a T. So here's, I think, actually what Trump said. Let's listen in.
She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. You know, they're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy. But she's a stupid person. And I used to I'd have meetings with a lot of people, and she always wanted to go to war with people.
So out of that, they go, Trump wants to put her in front of a firing squad. And so many people reacted to this. But Glenn Greenwald, who's still like he's one of these guys who's actually principled, he said, what Trump said about Liz Cheney, you cheer every war because you've never seen one that confronts, you have to never confront their horrors.
Right.
Let's see if you still cheer if they're the one having to do the fighting, is basically right out of Bob Dylan's 1963 Masters of War. And this was standard liberal rhetoric for decades. In part, the lyrics read, you hide behind walls, you hide behind desks, you that never done nothing but build to destroy. You play with my world like it's your little toy. You fasten all the triggers for the others to fire. Then you sit back and watch when the death count gets higher. You hide in your mansion while the young people's blood flows out of their bodies and is buried in the mud. Radical. Well, Bob Dylan.
Poet of his generation.
Yes. And there is, maybe we should find it. There's a clip of Dylan said, I don't know how I wrote those songs. Like, that wasn't me. Obviously, I was a younger man. He's like, I don't know where all this came. It just kind of came out of me. And that's, again, that's clearly the point Trump's making. And yet, the headlines read, Trump fantasizes about putting Liz Cheney in front of a firing squad. So you can continue to believe these folks if you want. But there are a lot of people starting to see through it. And I mean, the whole sit down between Trump and Tucker Carlson, kind of what you expect. It was pretty good. But at this point, even with J.D. Vance on Rogan, I'm hearing things that it's now this late in the game. They're repeating themselves. And it's like, yeah, that's what I get for watching all this stuff. Like it's my job or something. But one thing that came out of the J.D. Vance interview with Rogan that's worth sharing, it literally made me get a nice, good belly laugh, was how J.D. Vance described how Kamala Harris lies. And I thought this was an adorable story and to the point. Let's listen in.
So what's interesting to me about toddlers, and, you know, I've talked with Tucker Carlson about this. Toddlers lie in a way that's very different from how everybody else lies, right? So, like, if you're telling a lie, normally, you know, hey, did you do that thing? You would say, no, somebody else did it, or they kind of qualify it a little bit. Let me give you an example. My 4-year-old, I'm a big baker, probably surprised by that, but I'm a big baker. And my 4-year-old and I are making an Oreo cake a few weeks ago. And my 4-year-old is helping me. He likes to help me out a lot when I bake. And I go to the bathroom, and the Oreos that we're supposed to put in the Oreo cake, like crumble them up and put them in the cake, like half of them are gone when I get back. And I'm like, buddy, what happened to the Oreos? And he looks at me, and without a hint of irony or shame, he says, I didn't eat the Oreos, you did. Right? So that's the way that Kamala Harris lies, is I didn't eat the Oreos, you did. Not only does she actively brag, and has her administration actively bragged about trying to arrest her political opponents, she will go out and say that if Donald Trump is the president, he's going to arrest his political opponents, even though he already was president, and he didn't do that.
Did you see she went on Shannon Sharp and said that he's going to take away your Second Amendment rights?
It's crazy. The person who literally wants to confiscate firearms, Kamala Harris, is saying that Donald Trump wants to take away your Second Amendment rights. Dude, the thing that, okay, do you know who Steve Bannon is?
Yes.
Okay, fascinating guy.
Didn't he just get out?
He got out of prison yesterday.
Right? It's so,
Got out of prison yesterday.
It really is boiled down to, it's a great, cute story. Like, I didn't eat with the Oreos.
Yeah.
You did.
You did.
What happened to the Oreos? You ate.
You ate them.
I didn't eat them.
I feel like he might be suffering from a bit of amnesia on that. He probably ate a couple of them.
Yeah, he might have. He was like, Dad, you're the one who did it. See, but that would be like, man, he really is a politician now. Like, I watched you, Dad. Are you gaslighting me? But it's stuff like that where it's like, man, I don't know what happens next week, but I think J.D. Vance has got a bright future. And, I mean, him and Rogan really did have, you could tell, had a lot of fun talking about a lot of the issues. And even got a little disagreeable, but in a good way, about the politics of abortion. I thought it was quite good. But they're talking about how Kamala talks in circles.
Yeah.
And the word salad, so to speak. Here it is, folks.
It's astonishing. She talks, the only way I can describe it is she talks in circles.
Yeah.
Right? It's like...
Tim Dillon says it's like she does gypsy curses. She speaks in gypsy curses.
That's very good. But it's, you know, we need to build an opportunity economy, because if Americans don't have opportunity, then they're not going to have the opportunity to be Americans. And it's like, what the hell?
The opportunity
did
to
you
generate
just
wealth
say?
and generational wealth. Like, wait a minute. Do you know how few people generate generational wealth? That means you have so much money, you're going to give it to other generations.
Well, but there's actually, okay, I mean, I give a lot of speeches, so there's actually a skill to this. I think that she is the Michael Jordan of using as many words as possible to say as little as possible. There's actually a certain gift that she has, because you listen to her talk, and you're 100, 200 words into it, you're 500 words into it, and you're like, what the hell did she just say? She didn't say anything.
Right.
And that actually, I mean, okay, so yeah, there's a certain political skill in saying a lot without actually saying anything, but it actually worries me about her being president. Like, okay, there are all these substantive policy disagreements, and we could talk about, okay, I don't like her border policies, I don't like this, I don't like that. But what does she do when she's in a meeting with a world leader and she has to, like, know the details of public policy to negotiate with Vladimir Putin or Xi Jinping? Like, one of the major things that you do as a president is you participate in economic negotiations, like what tariffs are we going to apply on your goods unless you lower the tariffs on ours, or vice versa, right? You have to be able to know a little bit about your job to be the president of the United States. And I don't know that she has an ounce of curiosity about public policy in this country. That's what scares the hell out of me.
Again, they did this for over 3 hours, and it was a great flowing conversation. But here's one that I didn't expect coming out of J.D. Vance, of all people. Do you know the movie? What is it? Well, I'll just let Vance say it because I was surprised, and he seemed surprised. It was like a revelation that just hit him all of a sudden. Let's listen in.
But logic is, dangerous today. Like logic.
Oh man.
Logic is it's a problem when you have ideology. Some people strictly adhere.
Logic is a colonial idea, man. You got to get away from the logic.
And
that's
math is racist.
That's
I don't know
right.
if you know about that. That's a new
Racist.
one.
Well, okay, so it's interesting. There's this movie that's probably like extremely influential to my entire political worldview, and I didn't realize until last night because I got into Austin late. Usually my wife travels with me. She wasn't with me last night. She's taking care of the kids today. So I get into the hotel room in Austin, and it's very late, and I watch this movie, Boys in the Hood. Have you ever seen Boys in the Hood?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay. I watched that movie a ton when I was like 8, 9 years old, and I didn't realize how much that movie has had an influence on me until I watched it last night. Okay, so all right, for Furious Styles, a lot of his stuff about not letting financial institutions buy up all the stuff in your communities. Obviously, he's talking about black people in LA and not, white people in, rural small town America. But I was like, oh, like that's maybe the first place that I ever heard this idea. Or he talks about like the importance of fatherhood, the importance of especially young boys having a father in the home. It's like I got that from Boys in the Hood, and obviously it spoke to me when I was a kid because I grew up at the time and I didn't have much of a relationship with my dad. And it's interesting, man. He makes this observation, math being racist. He's criticizing the SAT for being culturally biased, but then he says the only part that isn't culturally biased is the math. And it's like, oh, this is like a black nationalist in the mid 80s, because that's kind of the philosophy of this movie, is what you might call like old school black leftism. This movie in the 1980s is saying something that I wish a lot of white liberals would hear today, which is actually math is not racist. It's one, it's one of the things that's like not definitively not racist is math and numbers. You guys are losing your damn minds.
And again, it's stuff like that where I'm like, wait, he's talking about Boys in the Hood?
I thought he was talking about Do the Right Thing for just a moment.
Oh, yeah. Wait, Eddie, you were like shocked when he brought up the movie title. Why did that hit you?
Growing up, we probably seen that movie, I don't know, several dozen times. Just points in the movie that come up in my life. Like Doe, that was a friend of mine, David Elmore. To this day, that's David Elmore.
Yeah.
DT.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of aspects like that. When we were young, we realized, holy crap, guys, although we were white in Anchorage, Alaska, there were a lot of things that were very poignant to us in that movie.
Now, shifting gears, Tucker Carlson. Yeah, we often play like Tucker political speeches and, him calling out Dick Cheney's ugly little daughter and all these weird little daughter and these miserable, unimpressive elites. And
calls it like he sees it.
like, and how he really is ready to go. And we think he's probably running for office. Well, Byron, I want you to put on like Tucker has hired you to advise him on his campaign.
Ooh.
And he put out this. This is an interview. It's a documentary coming out called Christianities. And it's about a 4-minute clip here that's part of the documentary to sort of preview and build thirst for the documentary, where Tucker describes, well, a pretty crazy thing that happened to him personally. You can even see the interviewer go, what? And this is Tucker Carlson. They're kind of, the scene is they're standing out, I think, on his property in the woods somewhere. Let's listen in.
Do you think the presence of evil is kickstarting people to wonder about the good?
That's what happened to me.
That's what happened to you?
Oh, yeah. I had a direct experience with it.
In the milieu of journalism or just?
Nope, in my bed at night, and I got attacked while I was asleep with my wife and 4 dogs in the bed and mauled. Physically mauled.
In a spiritual attack by a demon?
Yeah, by a demon. Or by something unseen that left.
Is that right?
Claw marks on my sides, on my...
So it left physical marks?
Oh, they're still there. Yeah. A year and a half ago.
Was your wife terrified? I know you were.
I wasn't. I was totally confused. I woke up and I couldn't breathe and I thought I was going to suffocate, and I walked around outside, and then I walked in and my wife and dogs had not woken up, and they're very light sleepers. And then I had these terrible pains on my rib cage and on my shoulder, and I was just in my boxer shorts, and I went and flipped on the light in the bathroom, and I had 4 claw marks on either side underneath my arms and on my left shoulder, and they're bleeding.
Wait, they were bleeding?
They're bleeding, yeah. No, they're actual claw marks. And I sleep on my side, so I wasn't clawing myself. I don't have long nails. And they didn't fit my hands anyway. But yeah, that happened. So I'm not from a world where things like that happen. I never heard of anything like that happening before. I had no idea what that was. I knew it was spiritual immediately.
You did? Okay, that was going to be my question.
Yeah. I don't understand to this day. I'm not going to put it.
You didn't try to refute the spiritual part in your own mind. You went right into the.
Well, it didn't make any sense, and it doesn't now. But I'm not from a, what do they call it, faith tradition that talks about things like that or even acknowledges their existence. Like, there's nothing like that. I've never heard anybody say anything like that in my whole life.
What was the next day like?
Well, the next morning I woke up and I thought that was the weirdest dream I've ever had. And then I saw blood on my sheets and I realized that was not a dream at all. I called my assistant, who was like the only evangelical Christian I know, well enough to call with something bizarre like that, totally bizarre like that. And she said, oh yeah, no, that happens. Yeah, people are attacked in their bed by demons. What? What are you even talking about? Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not leaving anything out, and I'm not pretending to understand that. I can only say what happened to me, and that did happen to me. And then I was seized with this very intense desire to read the Bible, which I then started without any study aids or anything. I bought a Bible that didn't have any. I'm not interested in editorializing in the Bible. I just want to read it and see what's in there myself. I have very low levels of trust for Christian pastors, most of whom, I'm just not a fan at all. And sorry to say that, but that's how I feel. And so I don't want to hear other people's opinions. I just want to see what's in there. And so I spent a year and a half reading it, and then I started rereading it. And it was just a transformative experience for me, but I'm not, holding myself out as someone from whom you could get theological advice, because I'm not.
Of course.
I don't know. I don't understand any of it. But yeah, that happened.
God allowed the demon?
I have no idea what happened. All I know is I was dead asleep with my wife and dogs, and I woke up with claw marks on my rib cage underneath my arms, and it didn't even make sense. My arms would, anyway, whatever. No one has to believe me. I don't care.
It doesn't matter.
But that happened to me, and so I just was like, wow, that's real. Whatever that is, I'm even not sure what it is.
It's very real. And so then that presence of that evil launches something.
Like I said, I'd never heard anything like that before, and certainly not from Tucker Carlson.
So you want my honest opinion?
Oh yeah, go for it.
Where are the photos? Because if something like that happened to me, I would have immediately been like, I don't believe this. Nobody else is going to believe this. I would love to have heard the wife's account about the blood on the sheets and how hard it was to get those stains out, or she just had to throw the sheets away or whatever. And I would also want to know where the dogs sleep.
Yeah.
And if he took some sort of sleep aid that night. All that being said, how people come to God is entirely unique.
True.
For those people. And
well, his dogs are small. They're like Cocker Spaniels. So they're not that big, and they think sleep at the foot of the bed.
Well, I don't know what the claw marks look like.
Right, and again, there's a lot more questions. And even you hear it in that clip we just played. He's like, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy, but that is a crazy story.
Yeah.
I've never personally heard something like that. Nobody in my life. I don't think I've heard those sorts of stories generally reading. You have?
I've heard stories like that, like my mother had relatives that, went to churches where people spoke in tongues. And, young people had to be escorted out of the church because they weren't strong enough to keep, their relationship with God was not strong enough to keep evil spirits out of them. So there was really a possession fear.
Man.
A lot of people, people grow up like that, man.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what to make of it. I appreciate his honesty and him putting that out there and telling that story, because I know I've seen the reaction online. He's getting made fun of by a lot of different people. It's not like it's winning him a huge crowd over necessarily.
Yeah, but I'm sure he doesn't care one way or the other because his relationship with God is his personal relationship with God, and that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Everybody else, excuse the language, can be damned.
Yeah. Well, I just wanted to share that, and that is a documentary coming out called Christianities, plural, ChristianitiesMovie.com.
I was wondering why the S was put on Christianities.
Yeah, me too. I'm wondering, and I don't know. My sense is this guy is going and interviewing a lot of different types of Christians around the country and probably around the world, is my guess.
Watch out for the ones up in Jackson that still handle those Dutch Garn rattlesnakes.
It's Scooter Downey is the interviewer's name. Yeah, Scooter Downey. And I'm not familiar with this guy, but it's a documentary from Holy Wisdom Films. So, I don't know. Interesting times we live in. 272-9228. If you want to get on the conversation, let's go to line 1. You're on there. Who's this?
It's Greg.
Hey, Greg.
A voice of dissent. Yeah, I think Trump history of being a racist documented. He was sued for not wanting to rent the blacks. He hang around white naturalists, and the guy made a joke about he had a black friend that was cutting watermelon. Now I voted for Trump twice, but I would never vote for him again. He close to Putin. He said he could sell secret to the Russians. Nobody would know it. He made fun of people who he said people that suffered that died for fighting for our country, and I don't think he's worthy to be president.
Why do you believe that stuff about him?
Because I document. If it wasn't true, he'd be trying to sue people like he did CBS 60 Minutes for $10 million. Trump is
well, CBS. That was a very obvious documented how much they edited and replaced the question. But I just wonder. I'll ask the question a different way. Why do you believe, say, the New York Times or NBC News when they tell you stuff about Trump that way?
Well, his aide, Pitts won't even vote for him, and he was his vice president. Trump is he wanted military law to him, not to the Constitution, and he's not he's arrogant, but most important, he got a bad temper, and he won't, like I said, he's gonna put people that are against him, he put the army on him and stuff. That's not presidential. That's not presidential.
But I'll ask again, why? You're giving me more examples, but I'm going, why do you think those things? Why do you think those things about him?
Because I sample a lot of Republicans coming out against him. A lot of Republicans coming out against him. And like I said, he just too dangerous to be president. And the Russian had a bounty on American soldiers, and he didn't call Putin on it when they was in Afghanistan. He liked Putin them because Putin them is like a dictator, and that's what he want to be.
Okay, well, it certainly was a dissent, and appreciate your dissent, sir.
Thank you so much, sir.
Greatest country on earth we live in, man. Everybody's got an opinion.
It's interesting. Let's go to line 3. You're on there. Who's this?
Hey, guys. How are you today?
Good. How you doing?
Doing good. You know, if you want to do some studying or reading on things like demonic possession, deliverance, things like that, read some of the books by like Smith Wigglesworth and Derek Prince. They're both very, very good. And Derek Prince, there's actually a young evangelist named Derek Prince now who's nothing but a charlatan, but the Derek Prince I'm talking about is a British minister who had a church here in the U.S. in Indiana. He passed away about 5-6 years ago, but he kind of wrote the book on, you know, what the Catholics would call exorcism, you know, evangelicals would call deliverance. So, but they're both, if you watch some of his YouTube videos, things like that, it'll really open your eyes up to what really goes on in our society.
Yeah, and I've never had a personal experience of running that way. And even, being 12 years of Catholic school, there was not much discussion of that sort of aspect of our history and tradition.
Right. Yeah. Smith Wigglesworth, in one of his books, actually wrote where he and his wife were sound asleep one night, and he felt a tugging at the end of the bed on the bed sheet, and he said he woke up, sat up, and he said there was Satan himself standing there looking at him. And Smith Wigglesworth, he was also British. He said he just looks at him and says, "Oh, it's you," and turns around and falls back asleep.
Man, okay.
So, but that's the life that he lived. And he was actually having recorded as having raised several people from the dead in his ministry back in the early part of the 20th century. So,
well, my question would be, how dead were they?
Yeah, I'm going to call bull on that one.
Yeah, well, I actually have a friend of mine who works with a missionary down in southern Mexico, and this missionary, and it's documented that he has raised over 200 people from the dead. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that goes on outside the U.S. that we never hear about unless you know somebody, in those areas, places like Central South America, Mexico, Africa, places like that. We have no concept of the spiritual warfare that goes on in those places and the absolute miracles that happen on a daily basis, because we live here in the U.S. in our comfortable little religious society that's far too intellectually above all of that. And that's the reason you rarely hear of it here in the U.S., anything like that happening, because of the lack of the faith of people here in the U.S. As a matter of fact, this missionary, he rarely comes back to the U.S. because it depresses him to come back to the U.S., but he came back it was probably about 25, 30 years ago, and spoke at a small church down in South Alabama. And, he just basically said, I don't like coming back to the U.S. because when I do, it's just so depressing to see the state of the religious church here in America in this day and age. So, and this is a guy who's had the drug cartels out to kill him. He's been shot, stabbed, run over. I mean, he's like a modern day Apostle Paul. I mean, that's how this guy lives his life. And because of that, his level of faith, God uses him in miraculous ways that we have no concept of here in the U.S.
Well, I appreciate the call, David. I really do.
Take care.
Thank Dave.
272-9228. Yeah, there are more things in heaven and earth than our philosophy can account for. I'll say that's where I'm at. And, there's a lot of stories you hear, though, and I'd want to have a lot more questions about what exactly happened.
Yeah.
272-9228. This part of the program brought to you by Pest Pro Services, and they're at Pest Pro. Ashley and that great team are ready to help you when it comes to any and all your pest control needs. Could be you have an emergency job you want to get done quick. They can help you in that regard. Say, it's spider season.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, wait, it sounds like you've had an experience yourself.
When you walk down the porch in the morning and it feels like you're ending a marathon because you're swatting the spider webs like crazy. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, kind of getting old.
Yeah, and it's like once they get on you, too, you're like, you can't completely get it off, and it's just, So have the pros come out to handle that. Or it could be you just are looking for an everyday pest control company that everybody trusts, that actually gets the job done well. That's Pest Pro Services.
That is.
Just call them today, 265-9990. That's 265-9990. Or you can always go to ppsriverregion.com or search Pest Pro Services on the Book of Faces. They have a very active Facebook page. They do kind of like trivia, like what is this bug, helping you identify certain little critters and pests out there that you might run into and not know what the heck is that. But they're also always giving back to the community, highlighting local athletics. Ashley and the team do wonderful work there beyond just the pest control. They're a great institution here in the River region. So check them out today. When you want to know, call a pro. Pest Pro Services. And be sure to tell them that Joey and Eddie and Byron, those fellas on the radio, sent you.
He may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings, 6 till 9, and afternoons, 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
This is your roving reporter, and today I am talking with an elk. Hey man, Mr. Elk, I was just wondering, what do elk do to take care of their money? Well, like most smart folks, we call David Erdit. You mean Alabama's most favorite asset preservationist? That's him, man. We call him up at 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. I see. Yes, he is our preferred money man. The money man with the money plan. You've been paying attention. Well, could you give us those numbers one more time? 334-279-7431 or 205-479-0839. And I just want to try to give you a heads up, man. Oh, what's that? I'm not an elk. Not an elk, huh? Well, then, pray tell, what are you? Knights of Columbus. I am not even going to make a comment. Well, the baby liked it.
Are you tired of the mainstream media's biased reporting? Do you want to stay informed on the news that really matters to you? Look no further than 1819 News. At 1819 News, we bring you the latest in Alabama news, politics, sports, culture, and more. We've assembled a team of journalists with Alabama values dedicated to the truth and the truth alone. Visit us at 1819news.com today. That's 1819news.com. Subscribe to our newsletter. Honest News, Alabama Values.
Hi, this is Carl Schmidt, naturopath and owner of the Herb Shop. Listen every Saturday to Winning Wellness and learn from experts in different fields of science and technology how nutritional supplements can help you.
Listen to Winning Wellness every Saturday at 10 a.m.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368. An equal housing lender.
'Tis the season for Cafco Outlet's Christmas Open House, October 30th through November 2nd. Looking for decorating inspiration? Whether you like traditional, elegant, or whimsical, we have what you love. Save 20 to 50% off our huge selection of Christmas items. Look for daily special deals and register for door prizes. From 12:30 till 3 Saturday, enjoy the music of Brian Brantley. We will have a designer demo by Karen Gresham from Crafty Creations Wreath Shop at 10:30 Saturday morning. Cafco's Christmas Open House, 9 to 6 Wednesday through Saturday on the Wetumpka Highway.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368. An equal housing lender.
Rich Thomas Weather, a service of H&H Carpets in stock specials on waterproof luxury vinyl plank and engineered hardwood flooring at blowout sale prices. H&H Carpet across from Walmart on the Atlanta Highway.
Rich Thomas Weather. Well, hi, everybody. The first weekend in November is going to feel more like a weekend in, let's say, September. Not only are the days warm, but the nights are very mild. Tonight, partly cloudy to cloudy at times with the overnight low temperature in the middle 60s. Tomorrow, continued unusually warm, high around 86. In fact, I think we're in the mid-80s on Sunday and Monday as well. A good bit of sunshine mixed in with some clouds, 60s at night. And even on Election Day, I've got the high in the middle 80s, partly cloudy, dry during the day with the risk of scattered showers and maybe a thunderstorm holding off till Tuesday night. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
For the lowest prices around on flooring and DIY flooring installation supplies, Budget Floors and More is your new best friend. Luxury vinyl plank, carpet, ceramic tile, floor installation supplies, and more with prices lower than the big box stores. Budget Floors and More, Hunter Lane across from Del Rey to Publix.
Trustworthy, accurate, immediate. Carrying your voice across the river region. News Talk 93.1 FM, WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the afternoon. 272-9228 if you want to get in on the conversation. That's 334-272-9228. I mean, and I was just telling the guys off air, I'm more than happy to hear dissent. But yeah, my kind of general rule is like I'll listen to anybody, but if you come at me, I might come back at you.
I just love people that, just throw talking points out there. Well, what evidence do you have? Well, I heard it from a guy.
Right.
Somebody told me.
But ain't that how we all are to a degree?
Try not to be.
Right.
Yeah.
Trust but verify.
Trust but verify.
And I love pointing out to folks that long before Trump came around, I thought our so-called sacred democracy was quite fraudulent.
Yes, you preach.
It's like, no, it's just the Trump people. It's like, have you ever read H.L. Mencken? Like, have you ever read any of the old right from the early 20th century? Like, come on, guys. Ever read any libertarians like Murray Rothbard? Like,
I mean,
yeah.
That's highbrow. I mean, 1984, I'm pretty sure was on the AP reading list in high school.
Oh, George Orwell, yeah.
Yeah.
It's good stuff, and it teaches you how power corrupts. It teaches you, I think, at the end of the day, people mean well. They're not thinking always in these terms. But I think, especially politics played at the highest level, it's fundamentally force and fraud. And in our society, thank God, it's not like ancient Rome where there's a lot of violence and civil war going on. And we had that early in our history. The name of the game these days is fraud, lying. And there's a lot of that goes on. A lot of it. And again, folks might justify it. We have to do this to win. We have to do this for the greater good. Or I'm on the side of the angels, thus I can play the devil a little bit, yada, yada, yada. But it happens by everybody does it.
Who was the old governor? It might have been in the 50s or 60s here in Bama, but he had a statement. He's like, yeah, I'm going to steal from you. I'm just not going to steal as much as the other guy.
I do
Sounds
remember
like
that.
Jim Foles.
It does sound like Jim Foles.
Might have been.
It just sounds like Big Jim. Like,
You setting a trap for Big Jim?
right.
Yeah. I mean,
You setting a trap for Big Jim with whiskey and women,
That's
you
right.
can catch Big Jim every time.
Big Jim
Yeah.
every time.
Right, that sounds like him. I don't know if it
favorite
is
line,
him, but and actually, I think those are my favorite politicians. John Kennedy from Louisiana does this, where he sort of does the wink of like, well, I'm kind of winding you up here and playing a game with you, but I'm honest about it. Like that's a fun way to play the game. I love that sort of. It's sort of like Penn and Teller politics. How Penn and Teller do magic. Like we're revealing the magic trick, and then they pull a fast one where you're like, how the heck did they
happen?
And I think that there are a few politicians that can play that game and do it beautifully. Not as many these days.
Oh, yeah, they're few and far between.
Let's go to line one. You're on there. Who's this?
It's Papa B.
Hey, Papa B. How you doing?
Hey, doing good. So I figured out the perfect tagline and probably finale for all this trash stuff.
All right.
Joe, Kamala, this time the trash is coming to take you out. I think pretty apropos for the putting a bow on that whole trash thing. And how great that it's right here at the end.
Right.
So it's like, they've kind of sunk their own ship here. And
Sunk their own battleship?
They are. They really are.
Yeah.
Good old political Dutch oven.
Yep.
Well, one other thing real quick. Have y'all got any final guesses as to what the big last-minute surprise is going to be, if there is going to be one?
Joey winds up pregnant.
No, I wind up pregnant.
Joey winds up pregnant.
Wow.
Yep.
That's
Hell of a
amazing.
surprise, ain't it?
I better make some money off of that toward the nation. Like, he's actually preggers, folks. He didn't transition or anything.
No.
It's a
I think it's
miracle.
going to be something like, pictures of Kamala at P. Diddy's party, or
Figured
like I
they
said, somebody.
got to be out.
Yeah, she just heard there was free booze.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was Nathan Bailey that kind of alluded to something else.
Who knows,
the
man?
last
And
shoe
the
to
way
drop.
the time to drop it is about 2 days before, 3
Yep.
days before. So it could be kind of a Sunday night thing going into Monday. Something drops.
And things are becoming quite fringious right now.
I think it's going to have to be Saturday because, to get everybody to pay attention to it, it's going to take a couple of days.
Yeah, but Saturday, well, the South doesn't matter. Everybody's watching
Right.
football, and we already go.
Have we not already jumped the shark this election?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah, but there's still one more. I'm like with Papa B.
Can
I
we
think
do
there's
it
still
again?
One more piece of stupidity that's got to be.
By the
put out
way,
there.
I love in these moments comedians that send up stuff. Look at this photo I've got on the stream, and I'll play the clip. It's clearly Ricky Gervais.
Okay, I thought that was him.
It's Ricky Gervais. You know that is Papa B, right? The British comedian.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's a black and white video, and he's clearly sitting in his bathtub.
Yes.
Up to his neck in water, and he's making fun of celebrity endorsements. Let's listen into this.
Hi guys, Ricky G here, wellness and beauty influencer. As a celebrity, I know all about stuff. like science and politics. So trust me when I tell you who you should vote for. If you don't vote the right way, that's like a hate crime. It makes me sad and angry, and I'll leave the country. And you don't want that.
Hey, wasn't he the guy that was on the that awards?
Yeah, he's the one that blew it up in their face.
A couple of times.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
That was great, man. That was absolutely awesome.
Yeah, take your stupid award, thank your God, and kindly F off.
Yep.
And they, you know, just the whole question y'all are trying to ask, I guess it comes down to this on the spiritual thing. Is there such thing as evil?
Yes.
Is there such thing as the devil?
Yes.
Is there, of course, is God active in our lives? Does that mean that, you know, it's possible for evil to be active in our lives? If so, how much so? You know, I believe that there is, and I believe if you open yourself to the Lord and to good things, that, you know, you're going to seek after good, then you're going to find it. And if you seek after evil, you're going to find that.
You bet.
Do modern day miracles exist? Well, yes. I'm always dubious, though.
Yeah.
I want to kind of get confirmation somehow, you know. But I do believe in modern day miracles. So anyway, that's kind of my take on it right off the bat. But look, you guys have a great weekend. Look forward to tomorrow because I think that's when the last two is going to drop, and it's going to be bigly.
Appreciate it, Papa B.
All right, bud. See you.
I don't think it's going to be domestic. If anything happens, I think it's going to be international.
Well, it is now confirmed that a lot of North Korean troops sent to the front lines in Ukraine on behalf of Russia.
I thought that was like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's been kind of, but it finally was like, I think the Secretary of State, I think Blinken came out and confirmed it. You now are seeing the Russians upping their drone production domestically. They're also teaming up with the Iranians to build more factories for drones. Drones have really become the dominant thing. The North Koreans are still sending millions and millions of rounds of artillery to the Russians, and the Chinese are essentially bankrolling all of this, and essentially providing the economic resources needed. And so you get those four working together, along with, say, other countries that are more in the bubble. Like, they don't want to be under the thumb of the United States. They don't want to be under the thumb of China or Russia. So they're happy to play at both sides in both ways. India comes to mind, and a few others come to mind. And I've been worrying about, since the war broke out there in Ukraine, that this is not just about taking back land in Ukraine. It's using the war as a wedge to drive what the Russians have long referred to as the multipolar moment. And it seems it's working.
To me, I think there's as much of an economical component. And you look at China's economy, it's dog crap.
Yep.
Russia's is always dog crap.
Yep.
When you have this sort of uncertainty in the world economically, that's about the time wars tend to pop out.
Yes, absolutely.
Out of necessity.
And then the latest in the news is the Iranians will respond to the latest Israeli response to the Iranians, and back and forth we go from Iraq. We'll see. What the Israelis reportedly hit were a lot of, say, missile production sites and missiles themselves that the Iranians used to hit them. So we'll see. Do they have more missiles stowed up their backside somewhere in Iraq? I don't know.
I think
To
we
spread the
made
war
a
out.
joke, or think it was on here maybe a few months ago, like with all this going on in the Middle East, Russia, China. I was like, man, you know, that little crazy SOB up in North Korea may be feeling left out. And
Oh, yeah.
nah,
No, he had to jump in the party.
he invited himself.
That's right.
Well, and this was a means, like, it's being presented in, say, corporate media in the West. This is a sign of weakness on behalf of Putin's part. And I'm like, no, this seems like a sign of escalation on Putin's part. Like horizontal escalation. Like, here, I'm going to bring the North Koreans into the war. I'm going to offer them even better technology. It's sort of a, like, okay, you want to mess with me? I can mess with y'all in this direction. You want to mess with me? I can mess with y'all in the direction of Iran. Like, I can mess in the Middle East, too. So it doesn't strike me as necessarily weakness. It's more of, this is just expanding, and people are pulling more levers to their advantage.
I'm almost wondering if he's kind of setting the table for more of a new Cold War, if you will. Like, you know, kind of, you get your guys, I'll get mine. Well,
But it's a little more complicated because in the first Cold War, it was a bipolar war. It really was Soviet Union versus United States.
Right.
And when you game theory that out, it's actually not that complicated. When you start adding that this is actually multipolar, China, Russia, your sort of other rising developing powers, United States with the traditional Western democracies, also including Australia, Japan, South Korea, it becomes a little more complicated of a game that's going to be played.
But the USSR had how many either satellite countries or other communist leaning countries under their thumb? So yeah, it was against the USSR, but we had other enemies that wasn't just the hammer and sickle.
True. That is true. But hey, we got to hit a break. First, this part of the program brought to you by Alabama Home Mortgage. And there at Alabama Home Mortgage, Kim Williams, Madeline Cannon are ready to help you whether you're looking to buy. They can walk you through that entire home buying process from pre-approval all the way to closing day. No surprises on closing day.
Don't want that.
Or a lot of folks are thinking about refinancing that mortgage. And I know a lot of you have been sitting on the fence, kind of biding your time, waiting. In particular, a lot of y'all I know are thinking about the election, thinking about refinancing your home. Well, don't wait till election day.
Right.
Call Kim and Madeline today. At least have a conversation. You don't have to pull the trigger on anything. You don't have to set the plan in motion just yet, but get the plan put together. Let them get to know you, your goals in refinancing. It could be you want more cash, ready to go. You want to reinvest in your property, reinvest in your family, just restructure what's going on in general with your debt load. They can help you with whatever your goal is in refinancing, but at least have that conversation. So when you do want to pull the trigger, well, everything's already in place. Call Kim and Madeline today at 567-4223. That's 567-4223. Or visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. There is a difference in mortgage companies. Let Kim and Madeline prove that to you today. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender. We'll be right back.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
What'll it be, Joe?
Coffee and apple pie. Whoa, Madge, what was that?
The lights? Oh, they always dim when the dishwasher turns on.
You should call Crosby Electric.
You think?
Overloaded circuits at your business can be dangerous. The experts at Crosby Electric can upgrade your electrical service to safely handle the load. And they can add receptacles where needed to eliminate overuse of extension cords.
Madge, I'd like to pay you. The problem is it's so dark in here I can't read my bill.
No, the problem is you're cheap.
Well, that's a problem too.
Effective, attractive lighting is essential for any business. Crosby Electric can help with a new lighting scheme that will give your business a fresh, exciting look. And they can recommend outdoor lighting for greater safety and security.
That'll be $4.50 for the coffee and pie, Joe.
Don't I get anything for recommending Crosby Electric?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
Don't put off essential electrical upgrades for your business. Call 272-2085 or visit crosbyelectric.com.
If you think the only job at a broadcasting station is in front of a microphone, you're missing some great career opportunities, including advertising sales, promotions, news, business administration, engineering, and more. Learn more about these broadcast careers by visiting the Alabama Broadcasters Association's Virtual Job Fair October 28th through November 1st at broadcastersvirtualjobfair.com. You'll find information about great jobs across the state, as well as specific positions here at Blue Water Broadcasting. And you'll be able to apply online at broadcastersvirtualjobfair.com.
This hour of news and views is brought to you by our good friends at Alabama Home Mortgage. Alabama Home Mortgage, 567-4223. Visit them on the web at myalabamahomemortgage.com. NMLS number 1586368, an equal housing lender.
All the headlines the mainstream media won't touch. Your News Talk station. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back. Let's go right to the phones and talk to Michael Cohen, Cohen's Electronics and Appliances. Hey, Michael, how you doing?
Hey, Joey, how are you?
Oh, we're all right. I'm ready for the weekend before the big election next week. But what's the score there at Cohen's today?
The score there is 28-7. We had a nice lady that had bought some appliances from us. She had some problems with one of them. Of course, the thing is now 5 years old, and or 5.5. it came with a 5-year warranty. Anyway, we went out there and we weren't having much success repairing it. And we had to fight with the manufacturer for her to get them to step up and give her a concession. So they're giving her a concession to get the unit replaced, even though the unit's way out of warranty. And, that's the thing that we try to do that all of our competitors don't do, because, they don't really care service after the sale, because all they're there to do is to sell the product.
Right.
And then you can call 1-800-WHO-CARES to get your unit repaired.
Yep.
Well, and that's what I love about y'all. Being a customer myself, I love, like, say, the TV I purchased, but it's sort of that extra service and getting things set up. And, that's amazing, even out of warranty, getting a concession. So y'all check out Cohen's today. You can always go to thinkcohens.com, shop from home, but there's nothing like actually stopping by the Boulevard, 2515 Eastern Boulevard here in Montgomery. Get to know them. They get to know you. And you better believe it's going to be a relationship for years to come. It'll probably be a family generational thing, knowing Cohen's. And be sure to find Michael, one of the team members. Say, hey, I heard Michael on that radio show with that Joey fella.
That's right. Y'all come see us and let us help you make the right choice for whatever your needs are in appliances or electronics.
Appreciate you, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
All right. Have a
See you,
great
bud.
weekend. Take care.
You too.
Again, coming up, Caroline Dobson going to be joining the show here in studio, I believe. And look forward to that sort of closing argument, closing conversation before Election Day. And, we'll see. We'll see how this election campaign works out for everybody. Honestly, I'm at the point of let's vote already and do the daggone thing.
Please.
And I think it's a product of I do this every day. So I'm ready to get back to state stuff. It is going to ramp up. Byron was saying the other day that 2026 is happening a lot earlier than you think. And okay. So, yeah, there's going to be a lot of state politics to talk about. Local politics certainly will not go away as well. We have not forgotten about the water park, the White Water Park. We've not forgotten about a lot of things. So we'll see. We shall see. But y'all stay tuned. Again, Caroline Dobson, candidate for Congress, running in the brand new Alabama District 2 as the Republican nominee. She'll be joining us after the top of the hour break.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. In New York, opening statements started in the trial of Daniel Penny, the white veteran accused of choking a distressed black subway rider to death. Prosecutors starting to deliver their opening in the case surrounding Jordan Neely's 2023 death. Striking workers at Boeing voting on a new contract offer next week. The union says Boeing is now offering general wage increases of 38% over 4 years, up from 35% in an offer that was rejected last week. Garrett Wilson made a dazzling one-handed 26-yard go-ahead touchdown catch early in the fourth quarter, and the New York Jets snapped a 5-game losing streak by beating the Houston Texans 21-13 Thursday Night Football. On Wall Street, the Dow had 335 points, the NASDAQ up 154. This is SRN News.
Hey folks, Donald Trump Jr. here. Let me ask you this. Does inflation feel worse than we're being told in the news? That's because the official inflation rate doesn't tell the whole story. Since January of 2021, the cost of living has increased by 17.9%. You can't get that money back. But what you can do is stop your losses today. How? By diversifying your savings into a gold IRA from my friends at the Birch Gold Group. When you're done, your money will be parked in a tangible asset with proven history. To see how it works, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word prepare to 989898. Birch Gold is the only gold company I trust. They provide an easy process to roll over your 401k or IRA into gold without losing your tax advantage status. So text prepare to 989898. That's prepare to the number 989898 to get your free info kit on gold IRAs from Birch Gold.
Rich Thomas Weather, a service of Riverside Chevrolet Wetumpka. If it's Chevy, it's Riverside. Best price, best selection. Check them out on the web at riversideusa.net.
Rich Thomas Weather.
Well, hi, everybody. The first weekend in November is going to feel more like a weekend in, let's say, September. Not only are the days warm, but the nights are very mild. Tonight, partly cloudy to cloudy at times with the overnight low temperature in the middle 60s. Tomorrow, continued unusually warm, high around 86. In fact, I think we're in the mid-80s on Sunday and Monday as well. A good bit of sunshine mixed in with some clouds, 60s at night. And even on Election Day, I've got the high in the middle 80s, partly cloudy, dry during the day with the risk of scattered showers and maybe a thunderstorm holding off till Tuesday night. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
Whether you're buying a home or auto or consolidating debt, CB&S Bank's personal loans get you where you need to go. Go to cbsbank.com to find a location near you or apply online today. All loans subject to credit approval, member FDIC and equal housing lender.
1819 News.
The president of the Alabama chapter of Vietnam Veterans of America is now criticizing Governor Ivey and her supreme executive powers. Wayne Reynolds says that the members and delegates of the Vietnam Veterans of America are supportive of Kent Davis, who was recently removed from leading the Alabama Department of Veteran Affairs. Davis was removed by Governor Ivey employing her executive powers. This move from Ivey overrode the votes coming from the Alabama Department of Veterans Affairs board members who wanted to keep Davis in place. Reynolds says that Davis has proved himself to be a leader who has made veterans issues a priority, and Reynolds says that the governor does not have the power to interfere with the vote coming from the board, and to assume some sort of supreme authority over the ADVA board is the antithesis of what the Republican Party stands for and believes in. Reynolds also pointed out that Ivey claimed to not have the power to dismiss State Health Officer Scott Harris, but now she does have the power to override the desires of the ADVA board members. I'll be back with more Alabama stories after this.
On November 15th, you can have dinner with Eric Metaxas right here in Alabama. Metaxas, the author of Bonhoeffer and Letter to the American Church, will keynote 1819 News' first annual Albert Patterson Gala on November 15th at the Barber Motorsports Event Center in Birmingham. To learn more and sponsor a table, visit 1819news.com/gala. Again, that's Eric Metaxas on November 15th. Go to 1819news.com/gala to learn more.
The Alabama Law Enforcement Agency is now investigating a hit and run in Saraland that killed 32-year-old Robert Estes. Estes was walking in the roadway when he was struck and then left on that road. The hit and run occurred near Boothtown Road. I'm Andrea Tice.
For more news affecting Alabamians, go to 1819news.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the daily newsletter.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
Don't you love the feeling of coming home to a clean house? Let Southern Bell's cleaning service get your home in order. Families in the River region trust Southern Bell's because they know Callan and Jesse will show up on time and believe in cleaning the old-fashioned way. They bring all their own supplies and specialize in full-service, residential, commercial, vacant properties, and construction cleanup. Estimates are always free. Call Southern Bells today at 546-0715 or follow them on Facebook at Southern Bells Cleaning River Region.
The views and opinions of the following program are solely those of the host and other contributors. These do not necessarily represent those of Liberty Acquisitions 825, Blue Water Broadcasting, its management, staff, or any advertisers. It's time for Montgomery's conversational radio show. It's News and Views on News Talk 93.1 FM. To join the conversation, call 272-9228.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to the program. Final hour here on a Friday. It's probably one of my favorite hours of the week. And joining us in studio, as promised, we have the Republican nominee to be your next congressman in the brand new Alabama District 2, Caroline Dobson. Caroline, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Joey. How are you?
Great. We've been a little all over the place today. And one thing I want to underline, because it plays in what we were talking about earlier, is how crucial these House races are, in particular your House race, about keeping the Republican majority, because we were listening to folks game out this idea that Jamie Raskin has floated of not certifying Trump's election if he does win. So, and they could also, beyond January 6, 2025, there could be a massive headache and wrench thrown in the gears of all this hope people have pent up for Trump if Republicans don't take the House. And your race is, I think, right in the thick of that.
Absolutely. No, the path to control of the U.S. House runs right through the 2nd Congressional District.
So what is kind of the closing argument you're presenting to folks? As you know, how many months have you been campaigning now?
About 11 now. So, well,
Almost a
almost, yeah. Actually, I filed on November 1st of last year. So it's the year anniversary,
happy
of my
anniversary.
filing. Yes. So no, I mean, my closing message is the same as my opening message. I'm running to fight for Alabama families. I want a better life for every single family in this district, and we deserve that. We deserve representation that's going to fight for us in Washington, D.C. We need safer communities. We need more opportunities. We need secure borders. And the person who's going to deliver that is not my opponent, who helped put in place policies that have squandered economic opportunity, that have thrown open our borders, subjected our young people to fentanyl overdose and the fentanyl epidemic, and have made our communities less safe through clemency initiatives like my opponent put in place that released 1,500 criminals into our communities, many of which have since been rearrested for drug and murder charges. So there's a clear choice. One of us who's raising their family here in Alabama, who's going to fight for our needs and concerns and opportunities, and someone who's going to fight to maintain the status quo in Washington, which is frankly the last thing that we need. The last thing that this country needs is more of the same.
Now, I noticed this morning, I got the press release that Barack Obama endorsed your opponent. Eric Holder has been making trips down here to this area. And so it sort of, I think, makes a point you and your campaign have been making, that your opponent is tied at the hip with this sort of national scene and the National Democratic Party, especially the Obama years.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, he's been broadcasting photos of him and Obama this whole campaign. So I thought he was already endorsed by Obama. He worked for Obama. And then, with respect to Eric Holder, it just shows how he's spending the last few days of the campaign instead of listening to voters, which is, and I say listening because there are still so many folks that I need to hear from, that I want to represent thoroughly and accurately. And every day I'm made aware of a new issue or a new opportunity, a new challenge in the district. And so that's how I'm doubling down. Yesterday was in Russell County, Macon County, here in Montgomery over the weekend. Going to be in Pike County, then over to Monroe County and Mobile County, trying to, again, listen to more folks. But my opponent, again, how he spends his last few days of the campaign is indicative of how he's going to spend his time representing this district, which is wining and dining more Washington insiders, more folks that have caused the problems that we're experiencing in this district. And frankly, one of the topics of this race has been relatability. And so, frankly, I think, spending time at football games with my friends and neighbors and folks that are raising kids here in the district alongside me, that's what I'm doing tonight, it is a lot better of an avenue of understanding what people in this district are facing, what they want from the representative, than inviting a fancy Washington insider to come down here and whining and dining him.
Well, and I'd imagine that one of the issues that's been an issue since you started running about a year ago is the continued inflation that's hurt people. Like you say, the pace of its growth has gone down, but it's still
It's still, I mean, you've got to look at where we are now to where we were when Biden, Harris, and Figures took office, because Figures was part of Biden's transition team. My older daughter turned 5 about a week ago. I always make her a pound cake. Miss Harriet Massingle from Beatrice's recipe is passed down from generation to generation, and it calls for a pound of butter. And so, you know, went into the Winn-Dixie, and a pound of butter is almost $6. You know, we all know what the price of eggs has done over the past 3.5 years. It is not just hard, it is almost impossible for a lot of families in this district. In fact, recent polling showed that about 45%, almost half of Alabamians, admit to struggling to pay week-to-week bills. I recently was meeting with some credit union leaders that have credit union facilities throughout the district, and they were saying a lot of their members, you know, choose to accept the overdraft charge just as a way of getting by from paycheck to paycheck to pay their bills. So it's not just we don't have the luxury of choosing whether we want another 4 years of the same policies. We cannot sustain that. We are going to see even more of the same, and even more Alabamians struggling. And so that's why I'm committed to stopping the inflation, bringing down prices, making it easier for people to put food on the table and gas in their cars.
Well, and of course, we saw interest rates rise from the Federal Reserve, affecting home ownership to so many other aspects of the interest rate environment. And so the Federal Reserve has been dropping them, hoping, okay, we can do the so-called soft landing. The jobs report that just came out today,
abysmal.
They expected something like 130,000. It was just 12,000.
Yeah, 12,000 and how
jobs.
Many of those were actually filled by non-citizens?
Right.
You know, you've seen the statistics in the past 3.5 years, and an enormously high rate of these new jobs have actually gone to non-citizens that have come across our southern border in the past 3.5 years due to the open border policies. We've got to start focusing on Americans, you know, and certainly my heart goes out to anyone who's struggling throughout the world. You know, we're all children of God. I empathize with people wanting a better life for their families, but we've got to take care of our citizens. And I mean, proof positive was what happened with Hurricane Helene, Hurricane Milton. Majorca saying, oh, we're out of money because we just spent $1.4 billion on non-citizens over the past 3.5 years, to the detriment of folks that have spent their whole lives here and lost everything. That's when you need your government to step in and provide relief, and the money's not there.
Again, folks, we're talking to Caroline Dobson. She's the Republican nominee to be your next congressman, congresswoman here in the brand new Alabama District 2. It's a kind of I don't mean to be a throwaway question, but I just worry that as we get closer to Election Day, turnout during the primaries is not great. And I worry that there are a lot of folks who still don't know they're in District 2.
They don't know. There's some folks, especially down in kind of the southwest part of this district, Mobile, Clark County is bifurcated. They don't know they're in District 2. And there are a lot of folks here in District 2, you know, lifelong Republicans that don't realize that this district is now a very competitive district. So they know they're in District 2, but they don't realize that this district now is you know, basically a toss-up. And so that's what our polling shows. This race is within the margin of error. So it's going to be all about turnout. So I can't emphasize enough, if you actually want to get a control on inflation, if you want to secure our borders, if you want to ensure our kids have opportunities, please make a plan for voting on Tuesday. Tell your friends, neighbors, folks you go to church with. If you're an employer, you know, allow your employees maybe, you know, to come in a little late or leave a little early to go vote, because this election is so crucially important.
Now, speaking of the border, as we've all learned, every state is essentially a border state now. And
That's
it's not
right.
just folks coming through the southern border, but with these new, like, essentially temporary waivers, giving asylum status, getting people jobs. There's been a lot of talk in Alabama about an influx. It's not just Springfield, Ohio. It's Alabama as well. And you made the point that when you look at over the last year of job growth, most of it goes to foreign-born workers. Actually, native-born Americans have had a massive net loss of jobs. And I imagine that's affecting this district in particular.
Absolutely. No. And you know, I think what's also been concerning is just the fact that this administration has no regard for or understanding of how small towns work and how the economics are in the small towns. With this CHNV program, the Biden administration has been locating migrants in the places that are least suited to be able to sustain. You add 100 extra people to a small town. Small towns, rural counties, they operate on a shoestring budget as it is. The budget is balanced down to the last nickel. And so again, I think the Biden and Harris figures administration, because inherently they are all Washington insiders, thinks, oh, we'll just plunk these people down in the country because there's space there, without recognizing the fact that these are the communities that likely already have strained resources due to the bad economic policies of this administration, and don't have the facilities, they don't have the infrastructure to deal with the influx of these migrants.
And then when you get to more, say, the cultural issues that are out there, I think I vote for any Democrat at this point. You're sort of voting for the crazies are baked into that cake. So
Absolutely.
Like, say the men and women sports issue is very real. And I think a lot of folks in this country, even very conservative people personally, are live and let live types. But when you start threatening their daughters, say, opportunities for scholarships or just their safety in general, this rightfully has people riled up.
Yeah, and I believe in limited government when it comes to what consenting adults do in the privacy of their homes. I'm not. I think Jim Baker said we should, get the government out of people's bedrooms. And so, I certainly believe in limited government when it comes to that. But we're talking about, mutilation of our children here, and in particular in this race, my opponent, he was deputy chief of staff of the DOJ in 2022, and he and his DOJ sued the state of Alabama to overturn our laws that were put in place by our state legislature, elected by our people, that protected our kids from irreversible sex change procedures, from chemical sterilization, from having biological males in girls' sports and girls' locker rooms. We put those laws in place to protect our kids. And then Shamari Figures and his DOJ sued to overturn those laws. And recently, Attorney General Steve Marshall, about 2 weeks ago, filed an amicus brief in a similar case where the DOJ sued Tennessee, United States versus Scrimeti, to overturn Tennessee's similar laws, showed that there was collusion between the Biden DOJ and Rachel Levine and the HHS to ignore the evidence showing that not only are these procedures dangerous and have lifelong impacts, but also that there is no possible way to obtain informed consent from a 9-year-old, from an 11-year-old. How can an 11-year-old actually provide consent? That, I realize this hormone, this puberty blocker, could result in the fact that I'm never able to have children.
Right.
And so, they actively ignored and excluded evidence in order to formulate guidelines that were aligned with their far left ideology. And in pursuing this lawsuit, being part of this lawsuit, my opponent in this very race prioritized the far left ideology over protecting Alabama's kids, and also over what the people of Alabama wanted.
Right. Well, and if you are a Republican out there or a conservative, you have to imagine every single time, say, the Attorney General Steve Marshall's had to go to bat fighting the Biden DOJ.
Right.
There is, again, his title was what? Deputy Chief of Staff, you
That's
said?
right.
For the Biden DOJ.
Right. Yeah, for Merrick Garland. Yeah. So actively involved in overturning a law that his home state had put in place to protect kids in his home state. So it kind of begs the question, where does he call home these days? And
Right.
It's probably D.C. because that's where his $1.5 million house is.
And it just, the way this has all come about, it seems too cute by half, too. To have this, I know you're running for this district, but to have this district carved out by courts, and then to have somebody who is at the top of the DOJ now running for that seat just seems like a, bastardization of what we would normally think of as democracy. It's a bit much to me.
Well, and I mean, we saw this with just Kamala's, nomination itself. There was no participation by Democrats in actually selecting her. But certainly in this case, my opponent came down to the district 2 days before the filing deadline to run for this seat, and win or lose on November 6th, he's going back to Washington, D.C. because that's his home. And the thing is, so much of this district is made up of rural communities and small towns, and you're never going to be able to understand what those needs are, what the experience of life is there, unless you spend time. People are not going to independently know how to access you as their congressperson unless you take the time to make the outreach first. And that's been my goal in this race. And for someone who lives in DC, like my opponent, and maybe spends a week down in the district, the majority of that time is going to be spent in Montgomery and Mobile. And the result is whether you're Democrat, Republican, black, white, wherever your zip code is in between Montgomery and Mobile, you're not going to be represented in Washington with the Shamari figures.
And the consequences if the Democrats take the House, I think there's some of the high profile stuff that's going on, but we've had this conversation, for instance, with Senator Brett, is trying to get back to regular order when it comes to passing all the different bills. And this district in particular is affected by the Farm Bill.
Absolutely.
Which needs to be updated, which needs to actually
Desperately
be amended.
So, yes.
And if there's still gridlock up there, because it looks like Republicans will take the Senate, does that even get done? Do we even get back to regular order?
Yes. No, I mean, and the Farm Bill is so vitally important. And also you look at, what's also important to this district. It's agriculture and also our military. And so when it comes to the NDAA and the fact that, an Alabamian right now, Mike Rogers is chairman of the Armed Services Committee, he'll lose that chairmanship if we lose control of the House. About 50% of the military assets for the entire state are just in this district: Maxwell Air Force Base, Air National Guard, a lot of defense industry, Lockheed Martin in Pike County, Austell, Airbus. Over in Russell County, a lot of industries and businesses that support Fort Moore and Fort Novosel. So it's incredibly important to the future of our country and getting our country back in track. And then also important to representation of a lot of the businesses and industries here in this district.
Yeah. And so campaigning a year, what is you said this at the top of this interview, that you've learned a lot of stuff. What are some of the particular issues that along the way through the process you've really learned getting to know the people of District 2?
Well, yeah, I would definitely say that, and we certainly have a healthcare crisis in this district, and it's, I feel like it's characterized often as rural healthcare crisis. That is true. But with what's going on in Jackson Hospital right now, it's not just confined to rural areas. So, and both my parents were rural healthcare providers, so that's something that's very near and dear to my heart. So, certainly we have a healthcare crisis, which I knew about, but I also, over the course of the campaign, we have actually lost hospitals in this district. So that's something we have to address immediately. And at the same time, kind of hand in hand with that is the lack of avenues and facilities for treating the mentally ill in our communities. I expected to hear that maybe from healthcare providers, but I've heard it from county engineers too. Someone that I've met with to try to talk about roads and bridges, and they said, but we also need some avenues for treating the mentally ill in our communities, and stop stigmatizing mental illness and actually start treating it, because right now a lot of that treatment is laid at the feet of our law enforcement, that strains their resources, makes their jobs more difficult. And so many of our law enforcement members, they're not psychiatrists. Right. Right now in the Mobile jail, about 20% of the inmates in the Mobile County Jail are on psychiatric medication. They're not criminals, and our law enforcement doesn't have the training to treat them or to know if someone's actually a danger or if they're having an episode of schizophrenia. So we've got to roll up our sleeves and depoliticize that issue. But that's something that's been driven home to me, again, whether I'm in a town of 2,000 or I'm in Montgomery or Mobile.
Have you heard much, because nationally it's always part of the conversation, but have you heard much in your travels in District 2 about, say, abortion, but also the IVF issue?
Yes, no, definitely the IVF issue. And I think, folks are there's just a lot of there's a lack of awareness of IVF throughout the district, especially in some more rural communities, especially among older populations. But I'm fully supportive of IVF. Very grateful for Senator Britt and Senator Cruz co-sponsoring the IVF Protection Act. About 1 in 6 babies is born in Alabama through some type of fertility treatment, and it's truly God-given technology to allow families to grow who thought they might not be able to. But yet we see Democrats, they killed Senator Britt's IVF Protection Act so they could continue to harp on this as an election issue. And I actually, in this race, my opponent last week was campaigning here in Montgomery with an inflatable intrauterine device, trying to fearmonger that I, was going to take contraception away, which, as a married woman of childbearing years, I use contraception. And, that's the last thing contraception's not illegal, and I'm all for, increasing awareness of and providing access to contraception. But that is just an example of the desperate fear-mongering that the left is doing in this race on a congressional level and national level, because not only do they not have solutions, but they've been part of creating the problem. So any way that they can create desperate distractions, they're going to do that.
Now, not to get too much in the muck and the mire and the mud, so I'll ask this way: is there anything in this race, whether it's from your opponent or say associates, thrown at you that you just went, whoa, like, really? This is what they're throwing at me?
Yeah, no, there's a currently an ad now that is literally full of lies about my positions on a wide variety of things. But my opponent has been trying to distract, whether he's talking about things that happened hundreds of years ago or may not have happened hundreds of years ago, or lying about my position on abortion, my position on Social Security. He is desperate, and he's grabbing at straws because, again, he's directly tied to the policies that have killed opportunities for Alabama families and endangered Alabama families. Again, you look at the fentanyl crisis. My opponent, I went to visit the border because I wanted to see firsthand, what was going on there and the lack of efficiencies, the humanitarian crisis. And my opponent dismissed that and said that the border wasn't an issue that people care about in this district, ignoring the fact that, we have lost young people at the hands of illegal alien criminals in this district. We have lost young people to fentanyl overdose. The small community of Sims, Alabama in the district, less than 6,000 people. They've lost 3 young people to fentanyl overdose, to the point where they called an emergency community meeting last week at Pathway Church to see what they could do to address this. And we've got to address that crisis, but the easiest way to do that would be securing our border, because 80 to 90% of fentanyl precursors are manufactured in China. They cannot legally be imported here. The way they're getting here is coming across our southern border.
And one thing I also want to underline, and you just said it by going into the details of, say, the opioid epidemic. And it really is crazy how all that, when you get into how it starts with the Sackler family, and I think the prescribed opioids becomes a heroin problem, becomes a fentanyl problem, and it really does impact rural communities a lot. Mm-hmm. I'll admit that I am a city boy, born and raised in Montgomery. Mm-hmm. I've lived in Auburn for a little while, but I've never lived in a truly rural situation. I maybe visited family, but, it's not living in a rural situation. And one thing I really worry about, because I know it happens to me, is if you are a creature of the city and of a certain type of lifestyle, you can read all the policy papers or white papers you want. You don't actually know what it's like. And I was talking about this with another district in the state, that people just focus on the population center, and they forget about rural parts of the state that are still caught up in this district.
Right.
And I just have a sense that you've actually lived that life as opposed to, somebody like myself, or maybe even somebody like your opponent.
Oh, absolutely. No, I mean, I grew up in a town of less than 200, and growing up in a town like that, you don't just show up for things. I think you witness civic engagement on a really large level, because you don't have a lot of resources, and you don't have a lot of city services. You've got to take part to making your community better. Everyone has an active role to play. And I think what's also important, which I think will play well, in actually accomplishing things in DC, is that when you live in a small town too, you've got to learn how to get along and get things done, because inevitably you're going to rub each other the wrong way, but you've got to find a way to work things out. When you live in a city, you have a falling out with someone, you may never see them again.
Right.
But chances are in a small town, you're probably related to them. And even if you're not, you're going to see them at church on Sunday. So you got to figure out a way to work through things and actually get things done.
So we're running out of time in the interview. We're running out of time in the race. So what's kind of your parting words if folks in these last few days want to help you out, want to get out there? What's your parting message for them?
Yes. No, again, I'm running to make life better for Alabama families. I got in this race not because I'm a politician, but because I'm a working parent in this district and our kids deserve better. I'm running against a Washington insider who came down here just to run for this seat, and he's going right back to Washington. So I need your help to send a clear message to Washington, D.C. We deserve someone who is going to fight to make sure our kids have opportunities, to bring down prices, to make our communities safer. And I need your help. This race is all about turnout. Recent polls show it's within the margin of error. We are going to win, but I need your help. Please call, text 10, 15, 20 friends. Encourage them to get out to the polls on Tuesday. Again, if you're an employer, maybe give your employees a little extra time to go vote, but please do not let Tuesday go by without voting, and encouraging your friends and neighbors and families to get out and vote as well.
Well, great seeing you. Best
Thank
of
you.
luck
Thank
on
you.
Tuesday. Feel free
Thanks.
on Election Day to call in if you want to do a quick
I'd love to.
conversation.
I'd love to.
And again, Caroline Dobson, folks.
Thanks.
We'll see how it shapes up on Election Day. I keep saying that about every race. We'll see. Coming up and after this break, I believe we have a quick call in. I wanted to talk about Mark Cuban's comments about strong women not being around Trump. We'll talk to a particular guest about that, special guest, in just a
You
second.
may not know whether he's coming or going, but whether you're going to work or coming home, Greg Budell is there. Mornings 6 till 9 and afternoons 3 till 6. Only on News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Is your business feeling the heat of cyber attacks? Tired of worrying about ransomware, data breaches, downtime, and employee mistakes? GTI Managed IT Solutions has been your trusted partner since 1999, safeguarding and supporting businesses like yours from the ever-evolving threats in the digital world. GTI, your peace of mind is guaranteed. Call us today at 819-4650 or visit gtinow.com.
For too long, Alabama's statewide news companies have shamed us for our conservative Christian values. Alabama deserves a news company that cherishes our culture, a company that isn't bought and paid for by the powers that be. 1819 News is that company. Run by Alabamians for Alabamians, 1819 News celebrates what is good and beautiful about our state, while exposing those who work against our values in secret. Just go to 1819news.com to learn more. Subscribe to our newsletter. That's 1819news.com. This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
The Rich Thomas Weather Network is brought to you by Earnest Financial.
If you're tired of losing your money in the stock market, call David Earnest, 334-279-7431. Earnest Financial, LLC. Well, hi, everybody. The first weekend in November is going to feel more like a weekend in, let's say, September. Not only are the days warm, but the nights are very mild. Tonight, partly cloudy to cloudy at times with the overnight low temperature in the middle 60s. Tomorrow, continued unusually warm, high around 86. In fact, I think we're in the mid-80s on Sunday and Monday as well. A good bit of sunshine mixed in with some clouds, 60s at night. And even on Election Day, I've got the high in the middle 80s, partly cloudy, dry during the day with the risk of scattered showers and maybe a thunderstorm holding off till Tuesday night. From the Blue Water Weather Center, this is Rich Thomas.
For the lowest prices around on flooring and DIY flooring installation supplies, Budget Floors and More is your new best friend. Luxury vinyl plank, carpet, ceramic tile, floor installation supplies, and more with prices lower than the big box stores. Budget Floors and More, Hunter Lane across from Del Rey to Publix.
We get Montgomery talking 24 hours a day. The River Region's most trusted voice. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Joey Clark.
Welcome back to News and Views in the Afternoon. Always great seeing Caroline Dobson. And now I want to shift to comments made by a guy who's done quite well for himself, but he looks ragged these days. Mark Cuban joined The View, and he said something like this.
Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever. It's just that simple.
Just that simple. You never see Trump around strong, intelligent women. And joining us to discuss this, we have United States Senator Katie Britt. Katie, how you doing today?
I am doing well, Joey. I appreciate you letting me come on and talk about this. The more I think about it, honestly, the hotter I get about it.
So, where is this coming from? Because it sounds like the fact you're hot about it, it's not just Mark Cuban. That's sort of just the last straw.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, let's just start. Let's start with Mark Cuban. But you're right. Let's go back. This is what Democrats do. If you do not agree with them, then they find a way to demean the position that you hold. And it goes back to Hillary Clinton calling us deplorables. You look at what happened in the last week with Joe Biden calling us garbage. And now you see Mark Cuban specifically targeting women and saying only strong, intelligent women, obviously that those would vote for Kamala Harris. They wouldn't vote for Donald Trump. They wouldn't be around Donald Trump. First off, Mark Cuban is the definition of the 1% of the 1%, right? He is wildly out of touch and openly disdains hard-working, everyday American families with rhetoric like this. I mean, this is a guy who likely has full-time security. He doesn't do his own grocery shopping or pump his own gas. He doesn't understand what real people are going through. And so obviously everybody takes a look at all of the issues in front of them and you weigh those issues. And the fact that Mark Cuban doesn't understand that Alabamians don't want to pay 45% more every month, on things, or that we don't want to pay more at the pump, or we don't want to be worried about the influx of migrants and what that means for our community and safety in so many ways, as we've seen with Laken Riley and Rachel Morin and Jocelyn Nungare. Those types of things, we don't want happening in America. When we're looking across the globe and seeing what's happening, the actual chaos, I mean, these are issues that matter to us. But he is actually so out of touch and that he doesn't get it. And it is, the more you sit with it and you think about that, he can't understand why women want stable prices, secure borders, safe streets, strong communities. This is what the elites think about the American people. And, from time to time, they say the quiet part out loud. And so I just think when you look back at it, this is part of a strategy. I mean, this is not something that he can walk back. I mean, because we saw it. We saw it with Hillary Clinton and deplorables. We see it with Joe Biden calling us garbage. Now we see it with Mark Cuban essentially saying we're weak and dumb. And it also lends itself, think about that commercial that you saw Julia Roberts put out that I just dug into. And I am disgusted by the fact that they think in 2024, essentially what they are saying is conservative women don't have the ability to have a challenging conversation with their husband. And just the laying out of that commercial, essentially saying that women are weak and dumb and trying to, quote, give them strength to hide things from their husband. If you want a strong woman obviously has those conversations, and many of those things happen across the country and certainly across our state. And the way that they're framing this up and the way that they're portraying conservative women, it is absolutely disgusting. And I'm over it. And I think it's just a desperate attempt to try to convince women not to vote for President Trump. But look, we know what President Trump stands for. We know what life under him. We are strong and patriotic Americans who want to preserve the American dream for our children and our children's children. And I think this just exposes that it's Democrats who are actually weak and insecure on their own policy positions. And so they use the 1% of the 1%. And it's not just Mark Cuban. They've been strolling stars out all week. People who don't understand what it's like to make ends meet, that don't understand what it's like want your child to have the opportunity to go to a better school or to want an opportunity to be there because they have it all at their fingertips. And ultimately, I think it backfires on them because Americans, we're sick of being looked down on by the elite, people looking down their nose and thinking less of us because we deal with a different set of problems than they do.
Yeah, and do you think this is changing, though, because there are so many women, not just in Republican politics, but in obviously positions where they have a big voice, leadership. I can think of yourself, of course, but at least Stefanik comes to mind in the House, to Nancy Mace, Anna Paulina Luna, or I think of like Cynthia Lummis, who's a leader on so many things. Like it doesn't have to be the so-called women's issues.
That's exactly right. Digital assets, every single time we talk about anything from stablecoin to Bitcoin to anything in between, we turn and look at Cynthia Lummis. Cynthia Lummis stands up and she can school the best of them. She understands the ins and outs. She understands policy implications. She understands the difference in why, people, where you want it to be regulated, SEC versus FTC. She gets it. And that's just it. I mean, all issues are women's issues, and we have strong women standing up and fighting for the things that they believe in. And it is incredibly important to realize that, a woman is actually running President Trump's campaign. Right. And one of his closest and best, probably top advisor is his wife, Melania Trump. And we don't have to say, like, this is what he's going to do when he becomes the president. Why don't we just rewind and look at his track record? He had more working moms surrounding him in that White House than any other White House before. And those are moms that get it. They understand. They're sending their kids to school, trying to figure out how to pick them up and do this and what it means to raise a child in this environment. I mean, all of these things, and you can start down the list from Kellyanne Conway. You named a ton of women that have stood up and led, and then you look there, Susie Wiles, Kellyanne Conway, you can do Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Yes.
And you can keep going, Linda McMahon, Betsy DeVos, etc.
Yeah, and it really is. I hope that it changes because comments like that. It's one thing because I saw they tried to attack Trump essentially as sexist because he said you were attractive. By the way, Jeff Poor won that. He got the best answer out of you. How's your big, beautiful husband? How is he doing? Like, I just love that that's how Trump calls you up.
That is absolutely one of my favorites. And he said, that's what Wesley got upset yesterday when Trump called. Excuse me, hold on 1 second, I got a call.
Okay, that's it.
Wesley was so funny yesterday when Trump called the man that he met when he went to run the garbage truck. Beautiful man. Wesley goes, wait a second. I thought that was my title. Hold on. I have some competition out here. So I did. I thought that was the best. Wesley wanted to know how come I got a headline and he did not. And then I also want to point out on that note how different the media treats things. You look at Bill Clinton coming out and calling Carrie Lake physically attractive. So not fantastically attractive, which obviously can lend itself in a number of things.
Sure.
And he has, and many times before, called me smart and capable and a great young senator, but sincerely physically attractive.
Yeah, it's.
And yet the media did not jump all over Bill Clinton on that.
Well, and of all people, Mr. Anyway, before I keep talking, I know you got to run. I appreciate the call, Senator, and let's see what happens on this election day. It's going to be a crazy few days.
I look forward to it. Happy to come back on and talk. But listen, last thing, Mark Cuban and the Democratic elite don't get is there are so many strong, intelligent women who know the answer to this question. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? And I will tell you, top of the list of know the answer to that question is Caroline Dobson. And so I am so glad. I was just delighted to listen to her when I was waiting to come on. That is a strong, intelligent woman. She is someone who is going to fight for our kids. She is someone who's going to fight for our values. She's going to make sure that the people of Alabama have opportunity at their fingertips. She gets it. She is living real life. She loves this state. She's proud to call this state home. And she would be an incredible representative for us and another strong, intelligent woman representing us in Congress. And so I just urge everyone to vote. Vote for Caroline. Go find 5-10 friends to do the same thing. There's a lot at stake in this, and let's show the country what we're made of, and let's send another strong, intelligent woman to represent us up there.
Here, here. Appreciate it, Senator. You have a good rest of the day.
You too.
Again, United States Senator Katie Britt. Well, cool.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Who, I'll give you one guess. Who said that they were moving to Dallas a long time ago for, and I quote, fun, sun, money, and women?
Fun, sun, money, and women?
Yep.
Who?
Mark Cuban. I wonder how many of those women he was referring to might have fallen into that strong category.
Yeah, it's just such a, and everything, that issue, the gender divide, the so many other issues, like other angles or binaries you could come up with. It's just getting so nasty. And I kind of, at a certain point, I go, well, at least it's not fake, like, oh, well, you're such a wonderful gentleman. And it's like, at least folks are kind of just having it out. But it is, especially go on X, go on Twitter, and just look at our comment section. God forbid, we're just a local talk radio show. It's nuts right now.
Most people don't fake stupid. He laid that out in spades, man.
By the way, Eddie's pretty good at that. He's very smart. He's very capable.
He has selective hearing.
Like, there's a reason he's done so well for himself. But you're very good at that, Eddie.
What'd you say?
I'm giving you a compliment.
I know. I'm waiting for the backside.
No, there's no backside. You're very attractive.
There we go. There it is. See, I'm waiting for it.
Especially when you had that wig on yesterday.
I can't let this Mark Cuban thing go real quickly. So the way that he determined whether or not his own bride was, one of those strong women,
yeah,
made her go to a White Castle. If she wouldn't eat the hamburger, that was kind of going to be a deal breaker. So that's the bar we have set.
I don't want to kink shame anybody, but that's just weird.
Dude's giving me the creeps.
Yeah, it's just weird.
No, I do wonder, like, what is going on with Cuban? Like, he seems like Trump has something on him, or he seems like somebody's pulling his chain right now.
He got all the money, and he's not a bad-looking man, but he still ain't made it. He's still not in the clique.
I see what you mean.
And they're just they're in the clique laughing at it.
Rocket envy.
Well, and also, I think the Elon coming on board.
Oh, yeah.
With Trump, Elon knows so much. About that billionaires club, about Silicon Valley, about the big tech world. Like he worked with these folks. He knows that culture personally. So I suspect Trump's gotten an earful.
Sure.
When he's wanted it about a lot of inside info on these people.
But again, with Mark, he's got the money. He doesn't have the knowledge. He doesn't have the know-how. He's just a smart butt with money. And Elon has the know-how. He's got the money. He's the package. So I'm sure Mark's got a little bit of, like you said, rocket envy.
Katie, you can't say it. He's the package. Somebody's got rocket envy. Really? Subtext much? That's just gross.
I thought that's what we were doing here.
Right. What are we doing?
got hairy legs. What are we talking about? What are we doing here? Anyway, we got to hit a break. First, this part of the program brought to you by Clearwater's Property Management. And there at Clearwater's, Reed Waters and the team are ready to help you with tree removal, tree trimming, stump grinding. Pretty self-explanatory.
Yep.
You're tired of the ugly stump? Then get rid of it. You want to cut back some branches overhanging the house, hitting the side of the house when it gets windy, or you're tired of driving through that bush every time you go into the driveway, which, getting the side of the car all scraped up.
Yeah. One side clean, one side not so much.
They can get rid of all that. And, of course, they can do full-on tree removal after a tree falls or before. And there are signs that it might be ready to fall before it falls.
Yep.
So get that done before it causes a big problem. And if it has fallen, say it didn't fall in the house or something, but it's just sitting there festering on your property, you're asking for a big problem.
You know it.
So call up Reed Waters and the team at Clearwater's Property Management today at 430-0376. That's 430-0376. And be sure to tell them that Joey and Eddie and Byron, those fellas on the radio, sent you.
Want to carry News Talk in your pocket? Download the News Talk 93.1 app from the App Store. Available on iPhone and Android. Never miss a moment. Download now.
I'm Wes Allen, Secretary of State. In Alabama, election integrity is a top priority. We must ensure fair, secure, and transparent elections. To vote in Alabama, state law requires voters to present a valid form of photo identification. For a complete list of acceptable identification, or to learn more about acquiring a free photo voter ID, visit alabamavotes.gov.
This message is presented by Alabama Secretary of State Wes Allen.
Hey, this is Mike from Owens Optical in Eastbrook. We've been advertising with Blue Water Broadcasting for over 10 years now, and doing so has dramatically increased our business. The sales and production staff are some of the best I've ever worked with. Thanks, Blue Water, for all you do for us.
Our advertisers are our biggest advocates. Call us to find out how radio can increase your bottom line. Blue Water Broadcasting. Local folks helping local business.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
It's Neil McCoy, live at the Impact.
Baby, you know what I like.
You'll hear all the hits from the 90s and 2000s when Neil McCoy comes to the Montgomery Performing Arts Center on December 8th at 8 p.m. It's Neil McCoy, live at the Impact on Sunday night, December 8th. Tickets are on sale now at the Impact box office and Ticketmaster.com.
This hour of News and Views is brought to you by our good friends at Cole Plumbing, 279-8919. Cole Plumbing is number one in the number two business. You don't have to dig a hole. They have proprietary pipelining technology. Ask them about their tankless water heaters. Remember, when you have trouble with your bowl, call on Cole.
If it concerns your community, you'll hear about it on News Talk 93.1. News Talk 93.1 FM WACV.
Welcome back. Final moments here of the program. Let's go right to the phones and talk to Ray Bowles from Prattville Carpet. Hey, Ray, how you doing?
Oh, chicken.
What?
I had Bill Gillespie, like, he just called me and I beat him in, like 280 men on this thing.
Yeah.
And he could hear your music going. He's like, no, call me back.
Wow. I thought he would take this opportunity to tell everybody hello.
We like him.
Yeah.
Nothing. We're not scared.
The problem is he doesn't know what hello, everybody.
Oh, hey, how are you, sir?
Now, who's your very favorite flooring guy?
Are you talking to me?
Yes. I want to know.
Yeah, it's always Ray Bowles.
Yeah,
Even though I don't know if he can lay carpet or not. I've never seen him do that.
Well, what do we have coming up in the community you want to talk about for the next 30 seconds? It's all yours.
Oh, we got a lot. Right now one of the main things is help support some of our buildings that are in need of some renovations and everything. But now we have a lot of progress in Prattville, a lot of projects ongoing, and so we're getting over Parade of Pumpkins and just waiting on the Christmas time season to get here. So if you haven't been downtown in a while, come on by. You'll see a lot of changes going on.
It's always beautiful downtown Prattville.
Sure is.
Beautiful.
Certainly is this time of year. Very proud of
it.
Hey,
stop by Prattville Carpet when you come down there to see everything going on down there.
Absolutely. 2201 Cobbsville Road, then stop by, see all that. And, of course, folks can still call you at 285-8117.
That's right.
Well, good hearing from you, gentlemen.
All right, guys. Have a great day.
Y'all have a great weekend.
All right.
How you like that?
Let's go to Chris. Hey, Chris.
Hey, guys.
How you doing, Chris?
Good afternoon, and I'm doing fine. Hey, I was just going to call and ask the mayor, why doesn't he have trash up underneath his overpasses and all that kind of stuff in Prattville?
Well, it is the preferred community. So they a little bit more
Right.
pride of ownership up there, I believe.
Yeah, but I mean, they probably enforce the laws unlike here in the city, right?
They do very well enforce the laws there. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The second thing is all these folks that are coming out like a Cuban and Schwarzenegger and all this. Do you think all this kind of irrational behavior by some of these Hollywood types and musicians because maybe they're on lists of some sort, like a P. Diddy list or Epstein list?
That's where my money's at.
That's what a lot of people are doing. Every time an endorsement or Kamala comes out, people post a photo of J-Lo with Diddy.
Yep.
Or LeBron with Diddy.
Yep.
Kind of crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, Diddy's like the
something to chew
Forrest
on
Gump
the
of
weekend.
Hollywood perversion.
Exactly. He's everywhere.
Yeah, it's always bad to be on the list, especially on the P. Diddy or Epstein list.
Yeah, you ain't kidding.
Yeah. Well, I just want to throw my 2 cents on that, but ask the mayor next time he comes here, what's the secret sauce that allows him to keep his city clean and not have trash underneath his overpass?
Good question. We'll do it, man.
Appreciate it, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
So, did we learn anything today?
Nothing I can talk about on there.
Oh, yeah? It's one of those days? Yeah. Why'd you bring all these cookies in here?
Because on Greg's show, we are going to continue with the kind of snack reviews. So we've got a couple different snacks. And I see these are your favorite cookies. I've never had them.
Those red velvet ones?
Yeah.
Even with that whatever color red,
Yeah.
it's probably not good for you. They taste so good. I could eat that whole box.
I'm looking forward to it because I bought them 2 days ago. I literally had to lock them up.
Like
or I
the
would've tore it.
Reese's and the Hershey's ones that you also have there, Chips Ahoy, are very good. But those red velvet are chewy Chips Ahoy, so they're real soft. And they've got this white icing through the middle
So
of them,
that's
not
like
just the chips. It has-
cream cheese kind of icing?
Yes,
That's
in the
what I'm
middle
looking
of it. So there's like, it's so.
That's what I was hoping for, Joey.
You could seriously, you're going to try one, and talk about highly palatable foods.
Yeah.
Like you should not eat that whole thing. Hold on, let me see this.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
I mean, is there a warning on it that says, Eddie, don't eat the whole bag? Because
Let's
our
see.
government would tell me things like that.
A serving size is 2 cookies.
Breaking that today.
And 2 cookies is 140 calories.
What?
And so there are about 9 serving sizes
Okay, there's going to be 4 of us in the studio.
per container.
So how many cookies are in there total?
About 18.
All right, Eddie will be probably eating a dozen.
You're eating a dozen.
I can see
of
a
these.
dozen happening. If it's as good as you say they are, I can see me taking this.
That's
to
like
go.
800 something calories, bro.
Chase it with a Mountain Dew. All the
Man, you're gonna have the bubble guts tonight.
Yeah, that might be.
Oh my goodness.
Didn't even consider the backside there, Joey.
Oh my goodness. Like that, those are so freaking good.
I'm looking forward to it.
Well, it's great seeing Carolyn Dobson.
Yes,
Y'all
it
get
was.
out. If you're a Republican, you're a conservative. I mean, get out there, vote. Because these down ballot issues really do matter. These down ballot races really do matter. It's not just the presidential race coming up this Tuesday. Get out there, call your friends, call your next of kin.
Right.
And say, I'm voting for
That's right.
Caroline Dobson.
Yep.
Also great to hear from Senator Brett. It
Oh,
is
that's great.
We actually saw her talking on Fox News
Yeah.
about the same issue, and so really appreciate the time called the humble little local Joey and Eddie here on the radio.
I love it when she does that.
And well, it's also interesting going over the war games that are probably happening behind the scenes.
Joey.
That's why I spent a good hour and a half on that earlier in the show, because who knows what's
Yeah.
coming. Like I don't pretend to know. I think even somebody who has the insights like a Mike Benz doesn't really know at the end of the day.
Right.
The main takeaway should be, again, there are a lot of decisions made before you vote
Mm-hmm.
for you on your behalf. And there are a lot of decisions made even after you vote.
Yeah.
For the people ever have a choice.
Exactly.
The elite have their own choices before and after Election Day. So, you know, as Samuel L. said in Jurassic Park,
Hold on to your butts.
we're getting ready. For the big, most important election of our
all time.
lifetimes.
Yep.
But in
Until
the
the next
meantime,
one.
yeah, right. Exactly. Right. That's how it works.
Yeah.
But no, this is going to be the last one.
Oh,
Now,
well,
that would be.
I've heard some people say.
See,
if
but
Trump
I've heard
gets
people
elected,
say that this
last
is
one.
going to be the last time, and we're never doing this thing again. And then you end up doing it again.
Yeah, yeah. Usually,
And again.
Yeah. The more you say that,
And
the
again.
more often you do it again.
Now I'm starting to reveal too much. Hey, let's get out of here. Happy hour, Greg Vidal and Eddie and Rosie,
Rosie.
And they're going to be Cookie Monsters today, trying
Looking
out all
forward
these
to
Chips
that.
Ahoy. Y'all stay tuned. They should have fun.
Broadcasting from the Riverside Chevrolet Master Control Center, this is WACV Cusana, News Talk 93.1 FM. When it's Chevy, it's Riverside.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams returning to court as he seeks to fend off federal corruption charges while battling for his political future. And the Democrat appearing at a hearing as his lawyers urge a judge to toss the bribery charge against him. Adams pleading not guilty and vowed to continue serving as mayor